Every single day, his classmates give him friendly face massages. Even at home, his uncles loudly remind him what an incredible kid he is, saying he absolutely deserves to live. After his stepdad generously helps him train his ab muscles, he heads to his room, where his lovely stepbrother accidentally spills a drink everywhere. Claiming our boy now has epic tasks to complete, the stepbrother walks up and asks if he truly realizes just how kind he is. Our guy is beyond moved. But he is just way too shy to show all that affection, so he quietly clenches his fists instead. Back at school, he finds a beautiful funeral flower on his desk, covered in equally beautiful, heartwarming written messages. Everyone nearby loudly agrees he is totally not a worthless loser, and comments on how absolutely incredible his life is. When the teacher walks in and spots all that amazing handwriting, he just smiles, saying our boy is truly blessed by his peers. Right after that touching moment, his back violently slams into the classroom wall. Watch carefully here. One of his better buddies just invented some brand new, highly effective full-body massage techniques. Our boy almost uses his actual strength to stop all this extreme love, mostly because these guys remind him of his sweet little stepbrother. But nope, he decides to accept the good deeds and gets another generous opportunity to train those core muscles. Even his head receives a premium foot massage. Amidst this incredibly wholesome environment, his cheeks are completely flushed red. His neck gets that free chiropractor adjustment. And when his phone drops, a pal deeply worried about internet addiction immediately smashes it. Obviously, this is just to protect his dopamine receptors from being totally fried by dancing internet girls and viral videos. I know what you are thinking, but wait. Just as the guy shows off his shoe brand, an actual bully suddenly appears. He grabs the shoulder of our wholesome friend. Everyone immediately recognizes him as Nishi, and suddenly, the middle of the girl's thighs become incredibly slippery. Our boy's best buddy almost asks Nishi what his problem is when another massage bro gently scratches Nishi with a bat. But Nishi is a gentleman, so he effortlessly blocks it with his back before delivering some free, high-impact dental care right to the dude's mouth. The guy immediately hits the floor, totally overwhelmed by such unexpected pure kindness. Nishi, the ultimate ladies' man, kindly tells everyone to rest, leaving the trio sad they could not finish the massage. And trust me, you will love what comes next. Alright, you and I are diving into one wild manhwa, Nishi sighs, asking why our boy ignores the love, suggesting he massage everyone. But our guy just casually walks off, saying Nishi knows absolutely nothing. The dude, though, totally blown away. He takes that intense massage and just strolls away like absolutely nothing even happened. The only explanation, he dodged every single touch at the very last microsecond just to avoid enjoying it. Impossible, Nishi thinks. Later on, our guy is chilling on the rooftop, staring down at his lovely school. His biggest issue right now. His phone broke, so no more watching those spicy Marumaru videos. The pure joy of breaking that addiction hits so hard, he literally climbs the fence. Arms wide open, just imagining a skydive with zero parachute. Now watch closely, because this is where his world breaks. Weird digital pillars suddenly drop from the sky, crashing right into the city. Every single student's phone violently shocks their hands, forcing them to instantly drop their screens. Goodbye to his peaceful days. From down in the courtyard, blood-curdling screams suddenly pierce the air. Glitchy numbers on those dropped phones start twisting, taking shape, until ugly mutated goblins literally crawl out of the screens. Total chaos. Every single student instantly starts sprinting for their lives. Blood sprays everywhere while our boy calmly watches from above. One goblin lunges violently, crushing a skull. You and I both know he should run, but he just watches monsters swarm the school. Lifeless bodies dropping everywhere, screaming for help. Within minutes, there's literally a mountain of dead students. But our guy, he just sighs, acting sad and muttering, yeah, I was totally ready to jump. But now he's got front row seats, watching clothes get ripped off girls and seeing guys swallowed whole by giant spiders, a truly beautiful sight. The jokes are over. Honestly, he's just thrilled seeing all those arrogant bullies finally get wiped out. Dying like the absolute trash they always were. Perfect karma. They could all rot in hell anyway. His life was garbage anyway. No parents, a society full of actual monsters, and his brother was even worse. Zero cares given. He's literally crying tears of pure joy until crack, a sharp noise right behind him. He turns around, and trust me, you will want to see what happens when a goblin raises its machete. Let's dive right in. Our boy hoped this was just a bad dream, but nope. That nasty smell and pure panic were way too real. Stick with me, you are about to watch our terrified boy dodge a drooling dwarf trying to chop him in half. Trembling, he knows it is time to act. Remembering his brother telling him to die like absolute trash, he gnashes his teeth. No way, he refuses to go out like that. Snatching a metal pipe, he blocks the fatal strike, screaming that his story will not end so miserably. The green goblin keeps swinging, and he keeps blocking. His arms are absolutely screaming. Just when he thinks he can push back, the monster overpowers him again. But right then, snap. The whole world suddenly fades to monochrome. For a split second, he enters pure flow state. Max concentration. Total body control hitting absolute perfection. All of that just to kick the goblin square in the balls. Honestly, respect. That dirty hit lets him smash the ugly creature into absolute pulp. Staring at the dead dwarf, he vomits. Then he snaps back, letting out a raw, emotional roar. His life has been pure garbage. He always hated it. But right now, for some strange reason, he really does not want to die. But right on cue, his eyelids get super heavy and everything just fades to black. Suddenly, a voice screams at him to wake up. The shock makes him jump. It is Nishi, looking completely relieved to see his buddy breathing. He admits the crazy head wound made him think our main character was totally done for. Nishi tells our wrecked hero to relax. But watch this part with me. Looking outside, the true disaster is finally revealed. The city is literal hell. Turning around, they hear sobbing and spot the rest of their classmates cowering. Funny how the bullies are practically wetting their pants now. Kujo is frozen while the teacher holds her, swearing he will keep everyone safe. This PE teacher is pretending to comfort Sakura, but the creep is so obviously staring right at her chest. The other girls already know the disgust of being devoured by the creepy eyes of this supposedly hardworking man. But our boy gets totally distracted the second he spots this massive, messy barricade shoved into the corner. Nishi explains they built that defense in a blind panic while everyone scrambled to the roof to escape the freaks. So many students are bleeding, and the building behind them is blazing like a barbecue. That junk is their only lifeline. Nishi is drowning in guilt right now. Why? Because people were screaming to be let in before they locked down. He is practically having a panic attack. Just look at that bloody hand clinging to life while those monsters rip through the stairs. Pure nightmare fuel. I know what you are thinking, but the teacher is right. Opening it invites death. The doomed students outside see them through the cracks and desperately beg for mercy. Nishi cries that people are still alive out there, but those bloody fingers are already slipping away into the darkness. Horrifying screams echo from the other side and Nishi completely breaks down. My guy is completely traumatized. He confesses his selfish survival instinct took over. But our main boy just looks at him and calmly says it is not his fault. Looking at the dead goblin, Nishi asks if our hero seriously soloed that beast. He calls him amazing, admitting that he himself just froze in pure terror. Nishi wishes he had that bravery, while Rudo just gives him this completely empty stare. The teacher suddenly barks for everyone to huddle up. He startles the group, ordering them to analyze exactly what happened when the monsters attacked. Sakura checks her screen, but her phone battery is completely dead. Another kid says his died too. Even the tough guys confirm it, every single phone is totally offline. While our hero holds his fully shattered screen, the teacher whines that they have absolutely no way to call the cops. Nishi asks what caused this madness. Our boy suddenly remembers the monsters crawled right out of the phones before the screens went black. He stares at his own smashed device and realizes the truth. Nothing came out of his phone simply because it was already busted. The teacher orders silence to keep the peace. He promises them the police or the military are already on the way. But Rudo instantly shuts down that fairy tale. The teacher is talking pure trash. The teacher is stunned by the disrespect. Rudo coldly explains that if smartphones spawn these things, the entire city is already a graveyard. Everyone panics as he casually adds that the entire globe is probably burning right now, not just Japan. Sakura completely breaks down. People are losing their minds. But Nishi steps up, warning that if they want to live, they must leave this roof and find safety. The school bully hates hearing the brutal truth. He steps right up to Rudo for acting like the boss. Look at his arrogant smirk. He really thinks he still rules this school. He violently grabs our boy by the collar, screaming right in his face. But Rudo does not even blink, and that absolute dead emptiness in his eyes totally rattles the bully. He calls Rudo trash again, and his gang agrees. But trust me, we are about to see this dynamic completely flip. But then Nishi jumps right in to try and defuse the explosive situation. Sakura tries playing peacekeeper, begging everyone to chill out. But Takeda will not drop it, mocking Rikuto and asking if fear stole his voice. Dead silence. Stick with me here, because this arrogant bully actually thinks our guy is just weak prey. Takeda screams for an answer at the top of his lungs. Our guy finally sighs and calls him a massive pain in the neck. The whole room is stunned by his absolute audacity. Takeda completely snaps, clenching his fists in pure rage. He screams, asking who Rikuto thinks he is talking to. Nishi yells for them to stop, but our guy is already taking out the trash. In one blindingly fast move, he shifts his weight and slams the bully into the floor with a flawless arm lock. Takeda gets his face crushed against the concrete, bloody and totally bewildered. Nishi is completely blown away by the flawless technique. Everyone just watches their former leader get absolutely humiliated while he screams in agony. He barks at the extra to release him instantly. But Rikuto just sighs, finding this pathetic display completely and utterly ridiculous. He honestly wonders how he ever feared such a mediocre loser. Takeda just keeps screaming murder threats, but Rikuto adds more pressure. He locks in with those dead fish eyes and a totally unhinged psychopathic glare. The tough guy is practically begging for mercy down there. Finally, Nishi yells that it is enough, dragging our protagonist away before that arm violently snaps in half. Nishi thinks this kid is absolutely insane. Is this seriously the same punching bag who used to get bullied every single day? Meanwhile, the entire crowd is left completely speechless. Takeda is still eating dirt loudly, swearing he is going to kill him, but Nishi just tells him to shut up. Now is definitely not the time for petty fights. As the loser grumbles in the corner, Nishi asks Rikuto to drop it for now. Our guy agrees, fighting here is just a massive waste of time. The bully simply cannot accept getting totally wrecked by a nobody. Nishi turns to the teacher to get things back on track. The guy is sweating so much from pure fear he can only nod. Nishi breaks down their situation. Now watch closely. Nishi drops the brutal truth on everyone: there is zero food and maybe no rescue team is ever coming for them. Nishi declares they need to find food and water immediately. Rikuto coldly adds that scavenging some weapons would be smart too. Sakura shyly raises a hand asking if anywhere in this hellhole is actually safe. Our boy points straight ahead into the unknown. They have to push into the building and find a way out. But right on cue, Sato Shinjiro steps up. This kid is totally against the idea, crying that it is way too dangerous. He demands they just stay put and wait for a rescue. Professor Oyama sides with Rikuto, admitting they at least need to check the hallway. Panic erupts instantly. They demand to know who would be insane enough to enter the monster's den. The cowardly teacher immediately points at Rikuto and Takeda to go scout. Our protagonist stays dead silent, but Takeda absolutely loses his mind over it. He screams at the teacher to lead by example, but the pathetic coward claims he must protect everyone staying behind. Even the girls chime in, telling the guys to just man up. Takeda is literally blinded by rage at the hypocrisy. But while they waste time arguing, our boy is already at the door ready for the slaughter. Even the fake tough guy is left speechless by his icy calm. He asks if Rikuto is actually serious. The MC just bluntly explains that waiting around doing nothing is a death sentence. He refuses to die here. You and I know a true main character aura when we see one. Even Nishi stares and cracks a smile. He casually grabs his guitar case and announces he is coming along to hunt for survivors. The teacher totally freaks out, terrified of getting blamed if the golden boy dies, while the girls beg him to stay. But Nishi only sees a pathetic, hypocritical old man. He cheerfully says he is glad to join Rikuto, leaving Takeda trembling in shame. Nishi is just laughing his head off internally. He literally calls Takeda a shivering chihuahua to his face. But then he gets serious. The mission is brutal, and death is highly likely. Then he flashes a grin, claiming he is just like our protagonist. The two immediately vibe on that. Both of them have real reasons to keep breathing. They are not making this easy for any monster. Total absolute focus. Rikuto swears he is never dying in a pathetic dump like this, flashing the wild smile of someone fully ready for chaos. While walking, Nishi mentions the protagonist actually feels trustworthy. Then he suddenly pauses, realizing he never even asked for his name. The kid finally drops his name, Kurogane Rikuto. Nishi fires back, looking cool and ridiculously handsome. He is genuinely shocked. Rikuto does not know his famous reputation. Our boy just goes, "Okay." Nishi absolutely cracks up at the icy response. With the ruined school burning right behind them, the pact is sealed. They are officially partners. Navigating through the shattered rubble, Rikuto signals to push forward, stepping directly into the absolute lion's den. This hallway is pure horror movie material, with bodies completely scattered across the bloody floor. Nishi breaks into a cold sweat, but Rikuto bluntly reminds him, this nightmare is real. No monsters around. What do we make of this deadly silence? Trust me, keep watching. Alright, stick with me here. Our guy thinks the monsters hit the city. Rikuto figures since school was basically empty, the fresh prey was gone. So the horde definitely moved into town. Nishi is honestly a bit spooked by how cold our guy sounds. But suddenly, a sharp crack echoes from up ahead. He instantly tells Rikuto to freeze. They both hold their breath, straining to hear any movement. The tension is absolutely real. They carefully peek around the corner and boom, face to face with an absolutely ripped goblin gripping a club. Our main character whispers, "Can we take this guy?" Nishi nods. Yeah, this single target is totally manageable for them. Nishi takes a deep breath to steady his nerves. He unzips that guitar case, revealing a top-tier combat bow inside. The golden boy smoothly shifts into a firing stance, pulling back the string with completely professional calm. Zap. The arrow flashes down the hallway like lightning, slamming dead center into the chest of the monster. The beast freezes in shock as the metal pierces deep. Rikuto does not miss a beat, immediately charging right in from behind. The goblin unleashes a totally bizarre high-pitched scream of pure agony. Hearing that shriek, Nishi immediately goes on high alert. But this buff goblin is not playing around. It gathers wild momentum, leaping high to smash that club onto the archer. Not today. Our boy is way faster stepping into block. He lands a perfect blow with his metal pipe. The monster gets launched backward. Nishi watches it tumble down the hall in a heap. Completely battered, the thing struggles to stand. Watch closely. Just look at the completely nasty, vicious expression on that goblin. Rikuto gives it zero time to react. He brings the pipe down with years of pent-up rage, leaving the weapon totally drenched in blue blood. The monster finally blacks out cold. Nishi just stares, muttering that Rikuto is exactly as brutal as he imagined. The golden boy nervously asks if more are coming. Our guy confirms the area is clear, praising their teamwork. But Rikuto knows that was just a warm-up. He remembers there are giant dragons out there, threats no human army can handle. Nishi eyes the corpse, calling this goblin a low-level enemy. You know, a basic tutorial mob you easily farm. Rikuto agrees this is only the very beginning. He reminds him the world is currently swarming with orcs, slimes, and every terrifying abomination imaginable. Nishi tries to laugh it off, but looking at the hand of our guy, it just will not stop shaking. He tells it totally straight. In a video game, this would be easy. But out here, their actual lives are on the line. Wiping sticky blue blood off his pipe, the hero remembers the brutal truth. No magic. No overpowered cheats. They are literally just two ordinary humans. But Nishi is not buying that at all. He insists Rikuto is built different and asks if he trained under a master. That makes the guy completely freeze. His expression turns insanely dark on the spot. A painful flashback hits getting brutally beaten down with a bamboo sword. His older brother, Kaido, used to beat him mercilessly in the dojo. The guy actually enjoyed his suffering. Rikuto shuts his eyes, burying the memory, and claims he never had a master. Nishi asks why he never fought back against the bullies while the campus literally burns right outside. They silently pass through, destroyed classrooms and hallways completely littered with bodies. Noticing the 6th floor is creepy and silent, Rikuto explains it only holds rehearsal rooms. Nishi nods, agreeing that makes total sense for the quiet. I know what you are thinking. Things are about to get seriously intense right now. Our guy decides to set expectations straight. He checks if their main goal is still just assessing the situation and finding an escape route. He is totally blunt. Getting out alive with intel is the priority. He straight up tells Nishi he will leave him behind if necessary without a second thought. He tells the archer to do the exact same if things go south. Nishi takes it surprisingly well, saying in an emergency there are absolutely no hard feelings. Rikuto actually lets out a tiny smirk. Nishi laughs, commenting that he acts super tough, but deep down he really is not like that at all. The golden boy scratches his ear, smiling like someone who already figured our guy out. But suddenly, a terrifying scream for help shatters the silence. Rikuto freezes instantly. The kid takes off, flying toward the noise. He completely ignores Nishi, who is yelling at him to just wait. The archer sees our guy is not listening and totally cracks up. The protagonist literally just claimed he would abandon everyone, yet he was the very first to run and help. Nishi is practically coughing up a lung trying to keep pace with our protagonist. The two of them frantically sprint down the eerie, silent hallway. But that silence shatters the second they come face to face with this absolute tree trunk of a leg. A massive, terrifying giant ogre is just effortlessly wiping the floor with the smaller goblins. Sakura watches the carnage in pure shock. She desperately thinks she needs to help, but the poor girl is shaking like a leaf. Inside that room, the audio is pure nightmare fuel. Those filthy goblins are being as low-level and vile as possible with the trapped girls. The floor is completely littered with students who never even stood a chance. And the monster is already standing right over Sakura. Good lord, you and I both see how stacked she is. But trust me, this is definitely not the time for that. Stick with me here, because this gets wild fast. Kotone is standing there, completely falling apart from fear, trying to convince herself to save Misaki. But the goblin cornering her attacks instantly, painting the floor with fresh blood. The poor girl absolutely panics. She covers her ears, just begging for this nightmare to end. Desperate apologies spill out of her mouth. She feels like the worst person alive for just standing there, unable to react. Outside, total peace and quiet. This triggers a flashback to Rikuto getting absolutely destroyed while she just stood by and watched. Back then, those exact bullies were totally humiliating Rikuto, while Kotone just watched. She knew she needed to step in. She even tried opening her mouth to stop them. But bam, the bully drives a brutal kick straight into our main character's face, infuriating him. She just stood there, trembling, mentally apologizing to him. Then Saito grabs her shoulder, says class is starting, and drags her away. They just leave Rikuto bleeding on the ground and move on. Back in the present, pitch-black night swallows the school. Kotone wakes up, locked inside a dark locker. Remembering Misaki, she hears gross, slimy noises outside, wondering exactly how long she was out. She blindly fumbles around for her phone in the dark. Now pay close attention here. The locker violently starts shaking. She holds her breath in terror and then dead silence. The desperation is absolutely suffocating. Out of nowhere, blinding light cuts straight through the ceiling. Her safe little hiding spot is completely done for. 3 ugly goblins are already surrounding her. She glances over and spots Misaki's lifeless body right there, completely cornered. The creature brutally yanks her by the hair while she screams and begs for any kind of mercy. The monster just roars right in her face, tearing at her uniform. And yeah, we can all see how incredibly stacked she is. She screams out, and suddenly a massive flash of light explodes. Gasping for air, she cries out for literally anyone to help her. The monsters just laugh. Squeezing her eyes shut, she waits for death, until a giant club suddenly splatters the goblin's head into pieces. Stunned, the poor girl opens her eyes. Having zero clue what is happening, she comes face to face with a massive ogre clearing the area. With glowing red eyes, this thing looks like a literal demon. She is shaking worse than jelly. Even the other goblins start running for their lives. Surrounded by them, the beast starts wiping them out with his club in an absolute massacre. Paralyzed Kotone just watches the bloodbath. The monster blows boiling hot breath right in her face, making her shrivel up in pure terror. Upstairs, Rikuto and Nishi are flying down the steps while screams of pure despair echo through the whole building. But it is too late. The ogre grabs Kotone by the waist, carrying her off like some twisted little prize. He drags tied-up goblins around like literal trash bags. Kotone cries and begs for her life, but the beast just ignores her completely. The shock is way too much. The poor girl simply blacks out. Hiding in the corner, Rikuto and Nishi watch the whole thing. Nishi is incredibly pale. Shrinking behind a pillar, he genuinely wonders if his tiny arrows will even leave a scratch on that massive walking tank. You and I definitely saw that coming. Our guy knew the upper floor was too empty. Now the ogre casually starts walking away, still dragging those goblins like heavy trash bags. Nishi realizes they just became an elite monster's prey. The archer is absolutely stunned watching Kotone getting carried away. Rikuto just starts walking forward. Nishi tries to hold him back, but our main character says he is saving her because she is still alive. Nishi thinks he is crazy. He asks if he actually wants to die playing hero in this bloodbath. Rikuto looks him dead in the eye. He admits he wanted to jump off the roof earlier, but seeing death up close changed everything. Saving her proves he is actually alive. Outraged, Nishi asks if dying to an ogre is the plan. But our guy doesn't care. He tells Nishi to go back alone. He is locked in. He flashes back to the bullies, calling him trash, his family photo stomped in the dirt. 0 allies. Just him against the whole world. That jerk Takeda called him completely incompetent, telling him he was already a walking corpse anyway. Not anymore. Rikuto refuses to be one of the living dead even if it kills him. Then Nishi stops him mentioning his little sister at another school. This definitely confuses the main character. The archer explains it simply. He absolutely cannot die and leave his sister all alone. Sweating cold bullets, Nishi clenches his fist. If he runs away right now, he could never look his sister in the eye again. He admits he is absolutely terrified. But guess what? The two of them are saving this girl together, no matter what it takes. He asks if Rikuto will do something stupid for selfish reasons. The kid gives a crooked smile. Trust me, you and I will love this team. Turns out Nishi isn't exactly sane either. Stick with me here, you and I are about to see how our boy plans to face this absolute tank without getting instantly wiped out with Nishi as backup. Rikuto tells Nishi to stay sharp, while Kotone wakes up right in the middle of a literal nightmare. Tied up to a pillar, and man, the character design for this survivor is heavily stacked. The ogre actually left goblins tied up as midnight snacks. The poor girl is completely traumatized. The beast is just chilling by the fire, casually chewing on a skull. Meanwhile, our boys finally make their move. Nishi checks in to confirm the strategy. He is totally convinced our boy has gone insane. Kotone accepts her grim fate, looking around only to see the tragic shadows of past victims. And that ogre, still crunching on leftovers like a casual afternoon snack. She literally pictures herself as the next barbecue special, completely breaking down in tears and begging for her life. But then boom, something whizzes right past the monster. It stops chewing instantly, senses the threat, and lifts its massive club to smash whoever ruined dinner. Kotone hears the sudden noise and completely freezes. Panicking, she loses her balance and faceplants, dragging the whole pillar down. The monster is hovering over her in a second while she screams for help. The beast just lifts that heavy pillar like a tiny twig, carrying her straight toward the campfire. Now watch closely here because things are about to change. The monster pauses, feeling a presence in the shadows. Our boy finally steps up. Kotone is absolutely stunned. Rikuto looks like a completely different guy right now. He just calmly tells her to close her eyes. Her brain literally cannot process this. The beast tosses her away, locks onto our hero, readies that giant club, and charges full speed to flatten him. But the main character is big-braining this. He grabs a fire extinguisher, blasting the creature right in the face and blinding the absolute hell out of it. He kicks the tank away and rushes to free Kotone, warning her to stay totally silent. She cannot believe he actually came back as he desperately hacks at the ropes with a small knife. But those damn cords are way too thick. Zero progress. Carrying her out, attached to a massive pillar. Not happening. So Rikuto instantly switches to his emergency backup plan. He slams hard on a metal pipe, letting the noise echo 3 times down the dark hallway. Nishi hears the cue and knows right away that the situation just went downhill. Remembering his buddy's insane strategy, Nishi sprints down the hall, pushing past his absolute terror of messing this whole thing up. The beast is already breathing down their necks, unleashing a roar so disgusting you can almost smell it through the screen. It charges with pure blinding rage, while Kotone screams, but Rikuto dodges with cold, calculated focus. Gripping his pipe, he faces the giant, fully aware that missing by a single millimeter means instant death. One tiny mistake, he is getting buried. Kotone yells his name and he locks into the zone, raising his weapon with mind-blowing precision. He flawlessly redirects the heavy strike into the floor, shattering the concrete on impact. You probably thought it was over, right? Nope. The hero smiles as his muscle memory kicks in and this beast is officially screwed. The monster roars in absolute fury, while Rikuto drops into a stance for his counterattack. Instead of clashing with raw power, he cleanly deflects the trajectory, forcing the monster to smash the floor. In one fluid motion, he bashes the foot of the beast, causing a massive howl of pain. Our boy thinks back to his dad, realizing all those brutal kendo dojo lessons are actually paying off. He silently thanks the old man. Kotone is completely stunned by his moves, and he realizes this giant has zero technique, just dumb strength. Snorting in pure blind rage, the ogre readies a massive overhead swing to flatten him completely. But our boy is way ahead, sidestepping the strike with crazy ease and leaving the giant super confused. His pipe cracks hard against the arm of the monster as he circles for another opening. The giant just keeps wildly charging in like a bulldozer. Rikuto notices the attacks are 100% predictable. No fakes, just pure unga-bunga strength. Furious about being styled on, the ogre steps back for a second, totally confused by what is happening. Kotone watches in awe, but then notices the horrifying truth. His hands are shaking violently. He is hitting his limit, nearly dropping the weapon. Even worse, this freak is a tank and barely feels damage. A direct hit now equals death. Nishi keeps running, while Rikuto baits the snorting beast, desperately trying to keep its focus locked on him. Suddenly, the creature pivots and literally lifts the pillar, with Kotone still attached. The protagonist freezes in pure horror, cursing loudly as the monster swings it down. The crushing impact rocks the entire school, instantly turning the room into total debris. Rikuto barely dodges the drooling beast. That is where we leave it, trust me, watch what happens next. Alright, stick with me here. Kotone is literally being used as a weapon, flashing back to when bullies made her life total hell. But out of nowhere, a tiny kid steps right up. Little Rikuto tried to protect her back then. Now she is sobbing, feeling awful for ditching him. Meanwhile, Nishi gets into position, amazed at how insane our guy dodges. Rikuto is absolutely exhausted. He cannot even hide the fatigue. Down the hall, Nishi sets up to bait this massive beast into a straight shot. Completely focused, he swears he will finish this. The ogre is furious, chasing him down and actually smashing a giant pillar just to crush our hero. Our main character miraculously blocks the hit with his pipe. But the strain, way too much. His hand is completely giving out, grip totally failing. Seeing the opening, the beast leaps forward, putting everything into one massive club swing that sends our boy absolutely flying. He launches through the air with brutal force. His partner watches in pure shock as Rikuto violently crashes right onto the hard floor. Nishi immediately starts panicking, knowing he only has one single chance. The huge problem. That angle is garbage. The monster is right there, and the distance is terrible for landing any kind of perfect shot. Sweating bullets, Nishi is freaking out and almost misfires the arrow in pure desperation. But Rikuto quickly yells at him to hold it. The kid is totally wrecked but still struggles to his feet. He says he needs a few more meters. Kotone just keeps crying. Now watch closely. The ogre moves in for the kill. Rikuto coughs up blood, his knee buckling right in front of the monster. Pure anxiety, right? Rikuto can barely stand up while this absolute mountain of ugly flesh towers right over him. The beast screams out a deafening roar, charging up its ultimate attack. Hearing the horrific noise, Nishi completely freezes in absolute fear. Kotone desperately begs him to run away. But his eyes, dead serious. She cries in pure guilt, totally convinced she deserves to die. Then we flash back to that day. He was getting absolutely stomped by those thugs while she just stood there watching. She hid there, trying to build up the nerve to intervene. But then Solito suddenly popped up out of nowhere and scared her. He immediately starts lecturing her. He tells her she cannot get involved in this mess alone and she just needs to follow his orders. With Rikuto taking a brutal beating right behind her, she quietly lowers her head and walks away. Back in the present, she sobs uncontrollably for acting like a total coward. But the ogre literally does not care about sad flashbacks. It charges forward with crazy bloodlust to finish the job. So insanely mad it is, grinding its own teeth, the beast uses Kotone like a literal baseball bat to crush Rikuto forever. But our main character notices the club losing momentum. Knowing it is now or never, he risks it all and violently jams his iron pipe into its weapon. The massive impact launches our guy backward, but he lands smirking. He knows his crazy plan worked. Throwing off its balance, the huge ogre accidentally drops the girl, and she violently hits the floor. Recovering instantly, the giant monster charges straight back at Rikuto. Kotone completely loses it, screaming at him to run away. But he just stays there, totally motionless on the ground. The drooling beast lunges in, ready to smash his skull. I know what you are thinking, but wait. Rikuto just murmurs he finally got the perfect distance. Down the hallway, Nishi is locked and loaded. At this exact angle and range, the sniper never misses. The ugly monster spots the movement, but it is way too late. Now it is practically target practice. He shoots the special arrow, tearing through the air at blinding speed. Boom, a direct hit right into the beast's eye. Let us rewind 10 minutes to explain that shot. Rikuto pulls out a sketchy syringe, and Nishi realizes Sakura actually gave him the weird item. The kid explains it is 100% pure lab-grade ethanol. She secretly handed him the extremely potent stuff right before the mission. His crazy plan, tape it to an arrow and shoot it straight into the monster's bloodstream. When Nishi questions it, our guy just nods. Basically, if hard liquor gets us drunk, this pure stuff will fry an ogre. Instant game over. But Nishi argues it is totally impossible, since a flimsy needle could never pierce that thick monster skin. But Rikuto shuts him down and tells him to aim straight for the giant eyeball. Nishi asks why he is so confident. The main character just shrugs, guessing a monster's eye is super sensitive like ours. Super simple plan. Rikuto acts as the punching bag and Nishi lands the kill shot. Jumping back to reality, the beast screams in pure agony with the arrow deep inside its eye. Nishi just calls his friend an absolute madman. Super risky strategy, but 3 knocks meant go. Nishi scored a dead center hit, getting 10 style points. The monster literally feels its own brain burning up from the ethanol. Rikuto chills on the floor, admiring the chaos. So, what do you and I learn here? Never underestimate the weak background character. In absolute terror, the huge monster desperately tries pulling the arrow out. Alright, let us jump right back into the madness together. The beast's legs buckle, dropping its club. Our boy knows the poison is finally working. Almost out cold, the monster lets out one final roar of pure hatred. It throws itself forward, trying to crush him with whatever strength is left. Nishi totally panics, screaming for his partner, but the ogre is completely blind now, just wildly swinging into the darkness. It throws a massive punch at dead air. The impact straight up blows apart the wall, leaving a huge hole in the hallway. Look at the size of that crater, but the monster is fading fast, panting heavily, and totally lost. Even still, it lunges for the main character. But Rikuto has murder in his eyes now. He decides it is time to finish this right here with his bare hands. The beast roars in pure rage. Our boy leaps right onto its back, holding on for dear life. Just a little longer, he tells himself. But this ogre is thrashing around like a possessed demon. Rikuto quickly realizes things are about to get super ugly. Nishi is completely helpless here. The protagonist pushes off with the ogre, and the two of them go tumbling down. The monster howls loud enough to wake the entire city. They finally hit the floor hard, leaving our guy lying there completely battered. Both he and Nishi collapse from pure exhaustion. The ogre is basically wall decor now. Watching from a distance, Kotone breaks down. She is crying tears of pure relief, just seeing they are still breathing. Nishi looks at him in total shock. He asks if he is literally insane for trying that plan, and what if he had completely missed the target. But our protagonist just smirks, reminding him he is a national champion. Calling him absolutely crazy, Nishi finally starts cutting Kotone free from her ropes. Getting the ropes off the girl, he asks if she is hurt and if she can even stand up. But she completely ignores Nishi. She dives straight in to hug our guy, thanking him for saving her life. Now watch this closely. A light bulb clicks for Nishi, and he immediately starts up the teasing. He asks what the deal is, joking that the protagonist nearly died fighting just to protect his cute little girlfriend. Nishi keeps clowning him, calling the kid a total heartthrob. Kotone gets super flustered until Rikuto ruins the entire mood by asking who she actually is. Nishi is completely speechless. The protagonist just straight up tells them he has zero clue who this girl is. She looks a bit crushed. But she accepts it has been years, explaining she is Tachibana Kotone from back in elementary school. She reminds him they used to be completely inseparable, even calling each other by special nicknames. While he digs through his old memories, a heavy flashback hits him. He remembers the girl he wanted to protect and the boy he could never forgive. Flashback mode fully activated. Little Rikuto tries his best to defend the girl but just ends up beaten on the ground. The kid is bruised and dripping in a cold sweat. Meanwhile, his demon of a brother just stares down with an absolute psychopath expression. I know we were just laughing, but let that sink in. A fatal car crash in the rain with Kaio holding the sabotaged brakes. His own family members were absolute scum. We see blood splashing absolutely everywhere. Kaio stomps on his head without a single drop of mercy. And right there, the light completely died in our boy's eyes. Snapping back to reality, he has the eyes of a dead man walking. A sudden wave of intense nausea hits, and he almost throws up. His friends have no clue what is happening as the atmosphere turns incredibly heavy. The kid drops to his knees, desperately gasping for air. He tries brushing it off, swearing he is fine. But Nishi calls him out immediately, saying it is obvious he is definitely not okay. Changing the subject, our guy mentions he did not even realize they went to the same school. Kotoni apologizes with the look of someone who feels absolutely awful. But he tells her honestly that she did the right thing by staying away because getting involved with a bullied target just gets you screwed over. Kotone just stands there, completely eaten up by her guilt. Breaking the tension, Nishi says they cannot waste another second and need to head back immediately, checking if she can walk. She nods, and the crew moves out. They pass the wrecked school hallways and suddenly spot this completely bizarre, creepy little creature. The area looks pretty much cleared of monsters now. Nishi starts suspecting that the giant ogre was actually the final boss of the school. Our main character stays silent, keeping his eyes locked on the hallway. Suddenly, a weird noise echoes out from behind those heavy metal doors. Playing it safe, they shut the fire doors and finally return up to the rooftop to meet the other survivors. The sky is actually clear now, but the mood remains super heavy. But the second they step outside, the whole group completely erupts with joy. Professor Uyama comes running over instantly, trying to suck up to Nishi. Kotoni barely gets a second to breathe. Saito instantly rushes in, wrapping her up in a huge bear hug. The dude is acting totally lovey-dovey, crying about being worried, while our guy just watches without understanding anything. Nishi just hangs back on the sidelines, totally picking up on the weird, awkward tension in the air. Kotoni looks like she wants to literally vanish. Then Seo drops the massive truth bomb those two are actually dating. You and I both know that Smile is pure fake. Sakura jumps right in, completely eating up the shocking drama. Alright, stick with me here. This guy claims their families blessed their relationship, but Kotoni just drops her head completely frozen in place. Saito actually tries thanking Nishi for the save. But our boy instantly cuts him off and tells him to thank Rikuto instead. The blonde is totally stunned, the extra pulled that off alone. Gossip spreads like wildfire. Everyone is seriously doubting if the main character is even the same guy. Saito finally speaks to our guy, pretending he barely remembers his name. He gives a fake thanks, then drops a twisted comment about Kotoni being nothing but a burden. Such absolute venom. But our protagonist doesn't even flinch, just saying it was absolutely nothing. Then the two-faced faker demands they leave the girl with him, dragging her away while she desperately looks back. Sakura is super confused by this weird dating rumor. Nishi takes the opportunity to thank her for the item, admitting it totally saved their lives out there. She nerds out explaining the alcohol's science, leaving the kid totally speechless. But when he asks why she even had it, the blonde's face turns beet red. With skills like hers, she can hide absolutely whatever she wants. Professor Uyama rushes over demanding a status report. Nishi hits him with the grim reality outside is an absolute bloodbath. No other survivors. The news hits the group hard. Hearing the fire doors are locked, the teacher instantly relaxes, convinced they are completely safe. The teacher loses his mind, barking crazy orders. But the students just stand there totally judging this guy's massive hypocrisy. And just like that, the crazy scramble begins. Everyone hauls boxes to set up base, desperately trying to survive one more day. While the guys stack desks to block the halls, the girls handle the food supplies. Sakura preps her kit. Honestly, with chemistry skills that epic, I'd ace her class. Nishi just chills on the sidelines, catching his breath. Now watch closely, things get crazy here. Suddenly, a heavy scraping drag echoes across the floor from a massive sack. Yeah, not friendly at all. Our boy is literally dragging a huge pile of dead bodies alone. Seeing arms randomly sticking out of the sack is pure nightmare fuel. Kotoni just stares totally shocked he is doing this dirty work. He calmly explains the bodies need moving before they rot. When Kotoni asks what he will do with them, Rikuto just shoots her this dead empty glare over his shoulder. He drags that heavy burden solo, realizing the bodies inside are the exact same jerks who made his life pure hell. The bullies who beat him down, plus the teachers who completely ignored the abuse. The main character coldly admits he always wished they would drop dead. Kotone listens looking like she just got slapped right across the face. But with his wish granted, it actually feels terrible. He thinks this whole apocalypse is divine punishment for holding so much bitter hatred. But to Kotone, he was always her hero back then, and right now. Hearing that leaves him totally stunned. He flashes back to her as a kid, sweetly calling his nickname. She steps up to help move the sack, though the protagonist tries stopping her. He warns her the bloody mess is way too gruesome to look at, but she firmly says she is done running away from reality. Suddenly, footsteps echo out of nowhere. Someone sprints up, completely startling both of them. Saito comes flying in, shoving our boy to the floor. He screams, asking what he is doing with his girlfriend. "You and I know this guy is unhinged," Saito yells. "She shouldn't do disgusting work," while Rikuto just coldly glares up. He calls the protagonist a sly bastard, yelling that he should be totally ashamed of using Kotone. She tries explaining that helping was her idea. But Saito instantly claims the main character used the rescue to pressure her. She is totally baffled by his insane manipulation. The pretty boy threatens to expose this incident, so the whole group keeps an eye on Kurogane. This rich kid is absolutely dead set on ruining our boy's reputation. Saito barks at her to shut up, grabbing her arm. But Rikuto calmly says he doesn't care, telling him to do whatever he wants. Our boy gets back to work while the rich kid laughs, calling him trash. He forbids Kotone from talking to the protagonist, ordering her to obey. Rikuto keeps walking, not even glancing back. But her patience is officially zero. She slaps that lunatic right across the face. Absolutely satisfying. Saito is left totally stunned, clutching his cheek. She drops the bomb. She only tolerated him because of their father's business deals. Saito argues they promised to be together forever. But Kotone shuts him down, saying it was literally just a parent contract. Rikuto tells them to take their drama elsewhere. Saito instantly snaps, screaming at him to shut up. He claims she needs his protection. But Kotone remembers exactly how he used her as goblin bait to save his own skin. The coward pretends he has zero clue. A quick flashback proves that when the goblins attacked, Saito was the very first to run. He ditched her to hide. "So what do you and I make of this?" Karma strikes back. He suddenly realizes the creatures are about to catch them. "Trust me, we are watching this piece of trash sacrifice Kotone, dropping her as monster bait." She just freezes, completely lost for words, watching that total coward run away down the hallway. Left entirely alone, she scrambles into a corner. Goblins approach. Thank goodness she hides behind those lockers, praying to stay hidden. Now Saito starts stuttering, begging her to believe it was just a desperate misunderstanding. But Kotone is totally over his garbage acting. She flat out says she cannot trust him anymore. Then this dude just completely loses it, accusing her of having feelings for Rikuto. He lets out this unhinged, crazy laugh. She watches his total mental breakdown in pure shock, while Saito just grinds his teeth angrily. Screaming at her to shut up and obey, he suddenly turns violent, yanking her shirt collar. Now pay close attention here. A loud crack echoes as Rikuto intercepts Saito's arm. Completely calm, he just asks for peace. The rich kid starts violently shaking. He feels the main character's aura shift. How is the kid who always got beaten up glaring at him like a total boss? He tries laughing, but he is panicking. Kotone yells that he crossed the line, but Saito just keeps calling Rikuto weird. Finally, our hero speaks up. He asks what the point of this act is, since dragging people down will not make him cooler. Shaking like a leaf, Saito screams that Rikuto cannot lecture a perfect honor student. He drops into a fighting stance. The absolute nerve. He claims selfish guys ruin the whole group. Our guy looks super bored, while the rich kid swears he will crush him. He recognizes the karate stance but just turns away. The crazy dude laughs, thinking he won. But Rikuto casually explains he is holding back just to not upset Kotone. Saito freezes slowly, processing that massive insult. Then he completely explodes, charging right at him. Telling him to shut up, he throws a punch. But after surviving an ogre, this is slow motion. The main character feels absolutely zero fear, dodging every single strike with crazy calmness. The playboy literally trips over his own feet, falling face first into a bag with a dead body. You and I both saw that coming, right? He freezes in pure shock, while Rikuto sarcastically asks if he is helping. Saito sits there, clutching broken wood, while Rikuto stares him down like trash. Suddenly, Nishi appears, asking what happened. Our boy says it was nothing, but the rich kid is sweating bullets from that absolute humiliation. Nishi plays along, asking if Kotone and Saito are okay with how things are. Skipping the chatter, Rikuto gets back to work. He thinks how the school genius never faced a real struggle before. The rich kid demands to know why Nishi showed up. Nishi apologizes for dodging the heavy lifting, and Rikuto jokes, calling him Master Archer. Nishi gets super embarrassed by the nickname. Kotone actually laughs, seeing this funny little miracle amidst all the crazy chaos. Now they plan to haul the final bodies upstairs, then come right back to figure out their next move. Night finally hits the school. Down in their messy little shelter, everyone tries to relax. Even the toughest delinquents are hiding out. Someone passes around a supply box so they can all survive the night. Professor Oyama keeps shouting about being a role model. Literally everyone is entirely sick of him. Nishi and Kotone skip eating, but Rikuto demolishes his food. Suddenly, a wild scream breaks the silence. Sakura looks furious. She tries absolutely everything to power on that phone. She even found a charger, but the battery is completely dead. Even though it is brand new, once a monster spawns from a phone, the device is basically fried forever. Sakura just flops onto the floor. She desperately wanted to check the news. Kotone asks if the internet even works without power. The blonde explains the city has a solid backup system. She just needed a phone that was not a portal. So our hero whips out his own device. Rikuto mentions the bully smashed his phone earlier. Sakura takes one look. Utterly useless. But Kotone realizes her phone matches his. Nishi is completely shocked they both rock such an ancient brick. Just look at his dumb, confused face right here. But Sakura sees a golden opportunity. She explains this old model is the only one she might actually fix. A tiny spark of hope lights up the shelter. Then Nishi calls a group meeting and drops the harsh reality. They only have 3 days of food left, completely isolated. Our guy shows off the terrible trash weapons they scavenged. Fighting a goblin with those, yeah right. The archer admits they are doomed, but Sakura suddenly drops a genius plan. And that is where we leave it. They will cannibalize Kotone's phone to fix his. Sakura laughs, totally nervous. Stick with me here. Nishi jokes that Tommy breaking the main character's device actually helped their desperate search for online rescue. Kotone questions them about the computers, but honestly, the answer is just depressing. Just look at those absolutely wrecked screens. Our resident genius is basically having a total meltdown from the stress. Nishi explains that fixing Rikuto's phone is literally their only shot, and that there are definitely other survivors stuck in this exact same nightmare. The protagonist stays quiet, just calmly adjusting that heavy metal pipe on his shoulder. But, to pull this off, they need specific gear. The next target. That nearby department store. Saito confirms the place is loaded, and the girls instantly light up, pumped to score food and weapons in one simple trip. Suddenly, the teacher screams at them to halt, spouting cowardly garbage about how a rescue team could arrive any second. Rikuto completely ignores him, pointing out the store is literally right there. Our guy suggests taking a car and tells the teacher to drive. The guy totally freezes on the spot. The protagonist calmly explains that walking out there is basically suicide, but the coward makes up some lame excuse about needing to stay behind to protect everyone. He refuses to drive. Nishi is just completely thrown off. Then Kotone steps up to drive, leaving absolutely everyone speechless. Nishi questions her license, and she drops a bombshell. Her grandpa lives out in the sticks and let her drive his truck since childhood. Saito is completely stunned. Now, pay close attention here. Saito asks if Kotone is crazy, but she shuts him down. Rikuto double-checks her resolve. Our main guy warns her it is pure chaos outside, and even locked inside a vehicle they will not be entirely safe. But she refuses to die, some useless, pathetic death. The protagonist holds her gaze for a second, then simply agrees. Flashing a rare, subtle smile, he says he is relying on her skills, while Saito sulks in the background, practically bursting with pure jealousy. Out of absolutely nowhere, the teacher violently slams his fist down. He is absolutely furious, demanding to know who authorized them to make decisions. He snaps, screaming that he is the teacher in charge, ordering Nishi to shut up. He insists they are just foolish kids who need to calm down and wait. Pointing at the water, he swears that with strict rationing they can survive a whole week just waiting for help. But Rikuto steps to him, eyes cold as ice, asking if staying put is really safe after everything they have witnessed. Rikuto declares nowhere is safe anymore, right as blue slime starts dripping from above. Arata freezes cold from the splatter. A terrifying scream cuts the argument short. Tommy is literally getting eaten alive by massive slime. You saw that too, right? Look at the insane size of that thing. The poor guy is suffocating, completely engulfed in slime. Our hero does not waste a single heartbeat, charging straight into the danger while the others just stand there watching. He proves his point that hesitating means death, smashing his metal pipe down onto the horrific creature with everything he has. Rikuto brutally swings the pipe with maximum force, desperately trying to rip a hole in the monster. The impact hits so incredibly hard that Tommy gets violently spat out, slamming into the floor, coughing while the slime backs off. But the monster is totally fine and gearing up for round 2. Our protagonist shifts stances, ripping down a window curtain to use as pure bait. He screams for Nishi, and our resident archer is already aiming the perfect shot to end this. It is bizarre. The acid melts human flesh, but totally ignores the cheap polyester uniform. Our boy charges with the curtain counting down with Nishi. Right on 3, they expertly rip the disgusting creature off the struggling student. Sakura watches the whole crazy scene unfold, absolutely stunned by the raw, legendary power of those two. But the gelatinous blob basically ignores the heavy strike. The protagonist quickly realizes this bizarre monster is totally immune to physical attacks. Nishi instantly panics frantically, wondering where they can find fire. Luckily, Sakura steps up with the perfect solution. She tosses some volatile chemicals and strikes a flame. Boom. The raging fire turns that gelatin into crispy toast instantly. All that remains is a nasty floor stain. Rikuto praises her clutch save, but the celebration ends fast. Poor Tommy is lying dead on the floor. Our main character is stunned into silence while that cowardly teacher creeps over trying to comprehend the utter madness. Rikuto shoots him a death glare. The guy starts shaking violently, whimpering about how they almost died. The protagonist fiercely asks if his master plan is really just waiting around for a phantom rescue team. Hearing that, Uyama completely breaks down, sobbing. Seriously, just look at the pathetic state of this adult. He entirely gives up his authority, letting the kids do whatever they want. Outside, Nishi snipes goblins, while Rikuto easily clears the courtyard with his pipe. Mission accomplished. The main character secures the zone, and Nishi orders everyone to sprint for the teacher's car that Kotone located. That's where we leave it. Nishi tosses the key, completely shocked it's a manual transmission. Stick with me here. Kato actually drives way better like this. Sakura suddenly shows up. She's the only person who actually knows what phone parts to grab. Looking super shy, she hops inside already, crying that she is going to die early today. But wait. Nishi spots someone else walking over. Boom, Saito randomly appears out of nowhere. This guy claims he is tagging along to protect Kato. Seriously, completely unbelievable. Nishi instantly warns him to behave. Saito swears he is not an idiot and clearly wants to survive this mess just like them. Kato shows the map to the coward while Nishi prays he won't ruin everything. She asks if everyone is set. Nishi confirms totally trusting their driver. Meanwhile, Sakura looks like she is having a total mental breakdown from pure panic. Our main character stays perfectly quiet, giving the final signal to hit the Aeon market. The van zooms off into the distance. Everyone left behind at the school just watches them go. One girl mentions Rikuto ordered them to burn the bodies. But Professor Uyama completely snaps, violently smashing the wall with a stick. Just look at this absolute lunatic. He screams to never say the main character's name again. He yells that he is the boss here, leaving the students totally speechless at his tantrum. But while he throws a giant fit outside, the city is now an all-you-can-eat buffet for monsters. Three-eyed wolves are already securing their dinner. Wolves quickly surround the van, but Kato simply flattens one. Pure roadkill. Mission accomplished right there. Rikuto praises her slick driving skills. Nishi points out that tiny monsters are the least of their worries. He freezes. Now pay attention here. There is a massive titan on the corner. No bumper survives that. Sakura panics, yelling to take the next corner instead. Our main character drops all the pressure onto the driver. Above them, creepy creatures pack the utility poles. The wolves start howling, signaling the van is completely surrounded. Look at this chaotic street feast. Man, even the giant crows are happily grabbing their dinner. Nishi admits the world has officially ended. Rikuto asks about survivors, but Nishi shakes his head. Not a single person. Suddenly, Saito yells to stop the car right now. Kato immediately slams hard on the brakes. Nishi asks if the coward actually saw something useful. Saito points ahead, spotting a convenience store where they can quickly grab some food. Sakura begs them to stop and stock up fast. But Rikuto calmly says there is food at their final destination. Saito whines that nobody listens to him just because it is risky. He tells Rikuto to stop playing the brave leader. Nishi tries calming things down while Sakura begs for peace. Kato heavily sighs at her ex's nonsense. Meanwhile, our archer thinks hard about his next move. Since there is zero guarantee they will find food, the risk is huge. But here's what you and I love about our MC. Since the die is cast, he decides to go all in. He says it straight to them. Whatever happens in there, he will not complain once. Nishi smiles faintly, thinking the main character is genuinely weird. The archer finally agrees to hit the store, making sure everyone is ready. 5 minutes later, they pull right into the parking lot. Rikuto asks Saito if this is it. Nishi steps up, leading the group inside. Sakura wishes them luck from the van. The trio enters a completely trashed store. It is depressing. Nishi notices the shelves are basically empty. Fresh food is gone. But Rikuto finds some canned goods, and they decide to loot whatever is left. Bags packed full of water and food, the group gets ready to bail out fast. But Saito suddenly freezes in place. He swears he heard a weird noise out back. Nishi shouts, asking if anyone is hiding. Nothing. Just a random cardboard box sitting there, making the whole atmosphere feel insanely tense. They walk closer to check. Saito grins like an idiot when he sees it packed with bread. Rikuto yells at him to stop. This idiot wants credit, but Rikuto knows something is wrong. Just look at the blood everywhere. Saito goes super pale, wondering what the hell happened here. A bloody warning on the floor says to run from monsters. but Saito ignores it, convinced Rikuto just wants the bread for himself. Typical Saito being a massive jerk, he screams that the bread belongs to him alone. Then, the box opens a giant eye. A tentacle monster leaps straight onto his neck. His agonizing scream echoes into the parking lot. The girls inside the van instantly know everything just went horribly wrong. Sakura ducks fast from lizard men holding a human head. They freeze. And trust me, you and I are gonna want to see what happens next. Inside that box, Monster is absolutely shredding Saito. But our main character, he doesn't just freeze up. He instantly charges straight at that giant eyeball. Bam, a direct hit frees Saito, and he instantly winds up his next swing to end this freak completely. The kid figures out it's a mimic, like a role-playing game, but Nishi appears at the door. Outside, things just got way worse. A massive squad of lizard men completely surrounds the parking lot. They stay perfectly hidden watching those 5 beasts patrol the area with spears. Nishi is absolutely sweating bullets right now. The giant lizard stops by the car, literally sniffing the air. The 2 girls hold their breath terrified, but luck is not on their side. The beast spots them. Absolute panic. Rikuto sees this and knows hiding is useless now. He instantly declares they have to rush in fighting. Back there, Saito is basically having a total mental breakdown from pure terror. So our protagonist just leaves the dead weight behind. The monsters yank the girls out of the car. Sakura is completely desperate, screaming that she wouldn't even taste good anyway. The lizard raises its spear for the final kill. Nishi doesn't hesitate. He fires a perfect arrow straight into the beast's neck, dropping it dead on the asphalt. Then our boy comes flying in with his metal pipe, absolutely beating the absolute hell out of them. A brutal strike sends the lizard flying. He screams at Kotone to guard Sakura and run away if she has to. Watch closely, our protagonist is suddenly surrounded by 3 armed monsters. Nishi tries covering him from the corner, but the beast totally dodges his arrow. The archer instantly knows, without a surprise attack, they are completely screwed. Nishi realizes, if this continues, Rikuto is absolutely dead meat. A 1-on-3 fight is just totally unfair odds. Our guy stares down the creatures wondering if this is his end. One of the beasts is already leaping straight at him with full power. But he refuses to die. He drops down, blocking the massive strike with every last ounce of strength. However, a second lizard exploits that opening, catching him completely off guard. He completely freezes up. But then smack, someone chucks a rock, hitting the monster perfectly. Both Rikuto and the monsters are super confused by that random flying rock. Out of literally nowhere, Taka appears up on the roof, winding his pitch like a baseball pro. This kid unloads rocks like a human machine gun. The dizzy lizards start spinning, having zero clue where the hits are coming from. Nishi catches that opening and fires an arrow, instantly ending one lizard's career. Then another guy drops from above, landing a brutal right hook right on a snout. This guy is rocking brass knuckles. Rikuto uses the distraction to crush the final lizard with his pipe. Area clear, our guy can finally catch his breath. He quickly thanks Taka for the epic save, and honestly, with Sakura's insane talent, I would follow her to the ends of the earth too. Meanwhile, the kid begs them not to leave, asking Taka if they can tag along together. Nishi admits he almost died there, but our protagonist stays completely focused. They rush to the car, shocked to find Kotone driving. 10 minutes later, the blonde guy finally introduces himself as Aizawa. I know what you're thinking. Yes, their epic secret hideout is literally a cheap motel. The girls practically die of embarrassment. The kid explains it's safe since there are 0 cell phones, quickly clarifying he is definitely not dating the upperclassmen. Nishi suggests they all swap information, but Saito, being absolute trash as usual, just angrily walks away. Nishi apologizes, telling the group to just ignore the idiot. Saito fumes with pure rage. Meanwhile, the blonde recalls that intense moment Yamaoka saved him, using just his fists. The kid is super grateful, but Nishi freezes completely upon recognizing that guy's sketchy name. Rumor says this upperclassman is an elite thug tied to trafficking the Yakuza and way worse stuff. But honestly, judging by his vibe, those rumors seem totally fake. Our hero points to the back, asking if he wrote that floor warning, but he knows absolutely nothing. The blonde is totally stunned that they even know about the warning. Nishi explains their main mission is to repair a broken cell phone. The kid is thrilled hearing about other survivors. Nishi admits things are brutal, and asks what their next move is. But the blonde just stands there looking completely lost. The upperclassman instantly agrees, hyping himself up to become the group's heavy tank. The senior asks the kid what his plan is, and the boy is totally fired up to help. Nishi mentions it's lucky they hit the mini-mart, but warns that traveling blind is pure madness right now. That area is probably absolutely swarming with monsters. Yamaoka totally agrees they must stay sharp. Her safety is top priority, and Nishi admits they definitely rushed things. So where does that leave us? With a loyal soldier, the squad is finally ready for real action. Check out Saito sulking in the corner, absolutely fuming with jealousy. Meanwhile, for days, the squad focuses entirely on mapping out a safe route. So after a ton of brutal fights against those creatures, the map is finally packed with markers. Let's dive right back into the madness. Days later, they finally arrive. Nishi and our main character step out facing the massive AO building. Sakura says it feels like an absolute eternity since she was last here. The blonde kid is literally shaking, swearing it's just pure warrior hype. But Nishi warns them things are about to get dead serious. Back at the school, total nightmare. Harpies are slicing people up and rations are basically non-existent. Just half a loaf of bread per day. Everyone is pushed to the absolute limit. Going crazy. The girls are losing all hope since there's zero news from the scouting group. And then there's Professor Oyama selfishly stuffing his face alone. One student finally works up the courage to beg for just a little more. He just slams his staff down. Tells her no way, screaming that food is way too precious. Everyone just glares at this absolute garbage, human eating alone. Oyama even gloats that Rikuto isn't coming back. Claims he's definitely dead already. Then, this creep walks over with a nasty look, grabs the girl, and tells her to serve him instead. Absolute scumbag, she yanks herself away, terrified, and the coward just laughs it off like it was some sick joke. That makes everyone's blood absolutely boil. The tension in that school. It is basically 1 second away from totally exploding. Now pay close attention here. Rikuto's squad enters the store, but there are no monsters at all. The dead silence is actually terrifying. They already know by now that there are different types of monsters out there. But when a massive super strong one is around, the small fry completely vanish. Nishi totally calls them boss monsters, just like an RPG. He even wonders if there's some hidden game system controlling everything. But Rikuto cuts the nerd talk short to focus on the mission. A bit later they hit the electronics and tools section. Sakura absolutely loses her mind with joy seeing this massive paradise of spare parts. Rikuto orders Kon and Guri to help Sakura gather stuff, then puts Saito and Nishi on guard duty. Meanwhile, he and the upperclassmen do a quick sweep. The whole store is totally loaded with useful tech everywhere. Sakura is literally a kid in a candy store. She starts drawing up these insane blueprints, complaining that the phone processor is utter garbage. She even asks if they love the smell of solder. The guys just stand there watching her geek out to maximum levels. But that dead silence in the building, it's making our boy seriously tense. Exploring further, Rikuto spots this weird paper on the wall. The note says, "Eliminate intruders and remove the letter E from the head." I know what you're thinking right now. It's the exact same note from before. Before he can even react, the whole ground starts violently shaking. Boom! A massive stone monster drops right in front of him. It instantly locks onto the main character's body heat. Our boy realizes it's a freaking golem, and the beast instantly marks him as a target for deletion. The monster charges in hard. Its speed for a giant rock, completely insane. It smashes everything in its path while our guy desperately searches for an opening. He manages to land a hit, but the metal pipe doesn't even leave a scratch. He instantly knows brute force is useless here. Worse, the creature is already winding up for a fatal, crushing smash. Rikuto totally loses his balance. But Yamaoka flies in out of nowhere with a brutal boxer punch. The impact literally cracks the monster's chest as Yamaoka checks on him. The golem staggers but doesn't drop. Rikuto sees a direct center hit wasn't enough while his partner is already shouting for a coordinated team combo. The creature swings back hard, but our boy is fully ready to counter. Yamaoka throws another heavy straight punch. Chunks of stone go flying everywhere. Rikuto is completely blown away by his raw physical strength. Power like that is rare even for pros. But the golem just eats the punch and keeps charging forward. The beast manages a glancing hit, making Yamaoka bleed. Now both of them are backed into a really bad corner. Then it clicks, the note about removing the letter E. He spots the word Emeth carved right on the stone head. He solves the puzzle instantly and yells for Yamaoka to fall back. Getting into a low stance to finish this alone, Rikuto blasts forward, aiming his weapon straight at the giant's forehead. A super sharp strike. He totally erases that first letter from the carving. Instantly, the massive stone giant crumbles into useless rubble. Nishi and the rest of the squad come rushing in, just staring blankly at the pile of rocks, completely confused. Our guy quickly explains the note's weird logic. The carved word Emeth actually translates to truth. Take away the letter E, and it spells meth, which means death. System shut down. It actually worked. Nishi laughs, saying this world is becoming a literal fantasy game. Saito tries playing it cool, calling the monster weak garbage, but even he has to praise Kurogane for the big brain play. Our boy's combat vision is just on another tier. The upperclassman smiles, saying he fully trusts him to watch his back now. The blonde kid gets insanely hyped, wanting his own hero moment. Nishi declares the boss is defeated and tells everyone to grab the sweet loot. You and I aren't done yet. Suddenly, a giant purple sphere comes rolling right in. Nishi hears something upstairs, and out of nowhere, a weird purple rock rolls straight down the steps. A boulder in a mall, total madness. But Rikuto reacts instantly, yanking Kotone away to dodge the crush. Suddenly, A freaky pink eye snaps open. Stick with me because we are about to see one massive boss. The real boss is finally here. It locks right onto the intruders, completely ready to wipe them off the map. This absolute unit starts off by smashing its fist into the ground, making the whole squad jump back. Rikuto scans the room 0 way to reach the upper floors. That is when Nishi steps up, firing an arrow straight at the target. Direct hit. But the crazy part, it does not leave a single scratch on that solid stone armor. Nishi completely freezes up. Armored really. Then the golem unleashes a massive roar that literally shakes the entire mall. Its eyes light up. Sakura realizes it is charging a massive attack, and panic hits hard. Our main character screams for everyone to run. Nishi instantly grabs Kujo, dragging him away, while Takeda sprints for his life with the others. Kotone screams Rikuto's name, but the attack fires right then. A crazy laser beam rips through the mall, leaving the golem standing dead center in raging flames. Watch closely. After blasting that huge crater through the floor, the monster just stands there, totally frozen. Our guy managed to yank Nishi out of the blast zone, but the poor archer is knocked out cold. Kotone checks to see if Sakura's crew survived, while our favorite coward is already shaking like a leaf. With the monster blocking the stairs, that jerk actually suggests ditching Nishi right there because he is dead weight. Rikuto totally shuts him down. He is not leaving anyone behind, even if he dies. Kotone smiles while that coward just grinds his teeth. Our guy hauls Nishi to his feet as the squad regroups. Then the giant boss steps right out of the flames. Nishi wakes up, totally confused. Why is the boss just randomly attacking the fire? Then it drops this hollow, freaky sound. Rikuto steps right up to the beast. Going full bait mode, he sprints off and yells for Kotone to just escape already. She gets it, dragging Nishi's heavy body away. Meanwhile, Rikuto figures it out. This boss is completely obsessed with attacking heat sources. Remember the first golem? It straight up said it detected heat nearby. The plan: Kotone throws a flare to distract it so Rikuto can run. But there is a huge catch: if the monster looks at the stairs, the whole squad is dead up there. Rikuto gives the golden signal. Throw it right now. She winds up to throw, but out of nowhere, Sato violently grabs her arm. The flare drops. Plan totally ruined. I know what you're thinking. Unbelievable, right? The flare rolls away, while Sato pathetically stammers that he just had to stop her. Kotone screams his name in absolute panic. The monster wastes 0 time, throwing a massive punch that nearly crushes Rikuto against a pillar. But Rikuto orders her to stay back. He yells at her to grab Nishi and get out of there right now. He even commands that trash Sato to protect her. But that garbage coward says Rikuto is already dead and tries to bail. Kotone basically tells him to go straight to hell, charging right into the chaos to save our guy. The beast unleashes an eardrum-shattering roar. Rikuto completely freezes up, sinking back into that dark mindset that he is totally useless. That toxic voice inside his head creeps back in, tearing his confidence to shreds. It whispers that he is worthless, basically already dead. And the golem, winding up to finish him off for good. But our girl is not accepting that bad ending. She dives right in front of him, holding onto Rikuto with everything she has, refusing to leave him behind. The golem smashes its arm down, wrecking the whole floor. Rikuto stares, asking why she would do something so reckless. But Kotone just grabs him by the collar. She snaps at him, asking how he could ever give up so easily. She tells him the Rikuto she knows would never quit like this. He just sits there in shock, brain stalling as he processes her words. Then it clicks. He always protected her back in the day. Fire reignited, he faces the monster. They are not dead yet. Bam! Out of nowhere, an arrow slams right into its head. The boss actually stumbles as reinforcements finally show up in the distance. Nishi strolls up, apologizing, cracking a joke that he was just taking a little nap. Rikuto and Kotone are so incredibly relieved the squad survived. Takeda is looking ready to throw down, and our archer declares it is officially time for a massive counterattack. Rikuto immediately tells Kotone to fall back, keeping her safely out of the danger zone. The golem violently smashes its arm down completely, shattering the very ground they just stood on. Nishi points out the obvious: running is completely off the table now, making things 10 times worse. Something starts violently pounding on the door behind them, sending Sato into a panic. Nishi yells out a warning. Those annoying little golems from downstairs are back. Sato is basically having a full heart attack from fear. So where does that leave us? Rikuto pulls the monster's aggro, screaming for Nishi to shoot its chest. Trust me, it gets wild. But Nishi screams out that his stamina is basically hitting rock bottom fast. Stick with me here. Our guy screams to keep fighting while Sakura and Suda watch from afar until the blonde gets a crazy idea. She yells the boys' names, promising a massive counterattack if they just stall the monster. Sakura pitches her absolutely absurd plan. Shockingly, Rikuto completely trusts her. The blonde is literally stunned by the blind faith our main guy is showing. She asks if he thinks she is totally crazy. In response, Rikuto immediately yells for Nishi to help distract the monster. The blonde questions her own skills before deciding it is all or nothing right now. Yamaoka charges right in as the golem goes absolutely berserk. Time to find out if her weird science experiment will actually save them. Sakura is shaking violently while that giant golem nearly flattens Rikuto outside. With everyone screaming, the blonde is cracking under the intense pressure. But remembering our protagonist's absolute trust gives her that epic push she needs to finish the job. With super extreme care, she finishes mixing and happily celebrates that the stuff is ready. Absolute peak chemistry genius right here, but she gives a strict warning if it shakes even a little, the whole place goes boom. Now the only goal is hitting that monster right in the head. The hype dies fast when Sakura suddenly realizes she totally lacks the arm strength to throw a vial that high. Then our baseball ace steps up, grabbing the explosive from her. He smirks, declaring that a perfect pitch is entirely his job. The blonde nearly has a heart attack, begging him to be careful. Meanwhile, that giant golem remains a living nightmare. Just look at its massive size. Watch closely. You and I would have run by now. Nishi hits his limit as the monster's eyes glow a terrifying purple, but the ace is already winding up for the biggest throw of his life. Blondie suddenly appears, apologizing for the delay, and tosses the vial, yelling, "It is Sakura's present." Direct hit. The glass smashes right into the beast as Rikuto asks what she cooked up. The genius casually explains she mixed acids into glycerin, creating pure nitroglycerin. Boom, the magic happens, and Nishi is completely thrown back by the massive explosion. Suda is just standing there utterly dumbfounded, watching the monster get totally vaporized from the waist up. Speechless at the insane damage, Nishi asks what that blast was. Sakura just gives a cute little my bad face. Can you even believe her? Blondie goes totally pale, screaming at her to warn them next time. Seriously, look at this massive building now reduced to gray rubble. Nishi groans that doing that was pure total madness. Rikuto does not even care and kicks the door open. Nishi desperately tries to hold the kid back, noticing the stair railings are completely blasted into a huge pile of rubble. Rikuto smirks, claiming they defeated the boss, then quickly asks Sakura if she secured the parts. He says thanks, making the blonde girl literally melt from embarrassment while Nishi says it is time to bounce. Next, Rikuto totally rips into Saito for being trash, though the coward tries pretending he just wanted to help. She yells to stay away forever. Nishi asks what happened, and Rikuto says things got tense. Suddenly, Saito completely snaps, clutching his head in agony, while Nishi yells to stop. The guy runs off like an absolute madman, slipping into a creepy dark storage room. Totally losing his mind, he blames our main character for everything, screaming that he needs to die. He viciously kicks some boxes to vent his rage, but freezes completely when he spots a silver knife. The object is jammed into a magically sealed coffin. We both know ignoring those warnings is a terrible idea. But this genius totally ignores the danger and yanks the knife out, popping the lid open. Instantly, a creepy red-eyed skeleton rises up and chokes Saito by the throat. Meanwhile, Nishi and Yamaoka are still desperately shouting for the runaway. Out of nowhere, Saito creeps up right behind them. He comes back, apologizing with this bizarre smile, while Nishi completely chews him out for running away. Acting weirdly cheerful, Saito just says they are done here and wants to leave. Yamaoka gets a sudden chill, totally missing the red-eyed shadow stalking them. Tires screech loudly on the asphalt as the squad finally reaches their base. Sakura jokes about how weird it feels entering a hotel, especially with the hallways being deathly silent. But the vibe shifts when she loudly cheers, making everyone crowd around her miracle. The page actually loads. She confirms the internet is still up, taking a quick moment to totally brag. Our hero asks her to find rescue signals, but the feed is just a dark graveyard of people begging for help. Luckily, Sakura finds a post showing a shelter full of survivors in Amashima. Nishi wants to escape immediately, while that total lunatic creepily watches the couple from afar. Possessed by a bizarre shadow, our guy promises to explain tomorrow. Suddenly, the mood shifts back to the school. And that is where we leave it. A bloody infirmary with someone being attacked. Here is Professor Oyama attacking a female student. Good lord, just look at the massive size of this poor girl's absolute talent. Trust me, you are going to hate this guy. But first, let us see what went down after our main group left. Up on the rooftop, the monsters are absolutely feasting on the remains of everyone left behind. Things are looking incredibly bad for the surviving group, with everyone already starting to lose their minds from pure hunger. One guy completely snaps. He demands food, and even accuses the teacher of secretly hiding all their remaining supplies. He tries to square up, but the teacher barely moves. He just tells everyone to shut their mouths and obey since he is the man in charge. The kid actually challenges him and throws a punch, but this sick bastard instantly drops him to the floor in total humiliation. The teacher smirks, saying he hates people who freeze up. The kid is absolutely furious but powerless. Everyone around them completely freezes in shock as this total maniac pulls a knife and drives it straight into the kid's stomach without hesitating. Blood gushes everywhere. Oyama does not even wipe his face, just letting the boy writhe in pure agony until his very last breath. Then he coldly warns everyone to obey the teacher. Oyama goes completely off the deep end, claiming bad kids need a painful lesson. Back in the present, this absolute lunatic walks into the room, carrying Enomoto over his shoulder, humming a tune to the other girls. The girls huddle in a corner, shaking with fear as he tosses the poor girl down. And wow, look at the massive size of this runner's talent. Gripping his bloody knife, the psycho teacher praises her endurance before already locking eyes on his next victim. Kasahara completely panics instantly, trying to sell out her own friend just to save her own skin. Professor Oyama has fully lost his mind, flashing the knife and telling the girls to be good and obey. They can do nothing but sob. Now watch closely because things get wild. He turns and spots Hayashi shaking. The teacher asks if he has a problem, pointing straight at the dead hero boys. The poor kid completely freezes up and desperately swears his absolute obedience. Then this absolute psycho grabs Kasahara by the arm, violently dragging her down the dark hallway while laughing. The survivors left behind just tremble in fear, wondering how their normal world turned into this absolute nightmare. Out in the hallway, Kasahara fights back, calling him pure scum. Oyama completely snaps, violently demanding to be called teacher. He keeps dragging the terrified girl, claiming she desperately needs remedial lessons, all with that completely unhinged look in his eyes. Back inside, the other girl completely breaks down. Meanwhile, this lunatic acts like an absolute king, flashing the creepy smile of a man who lost his mind. But then he hears a loud engine and realizes it is his own car. He freezes, staring out the window, and puts the pieces together with a look of pure, boiling hatred. Down below, though, total relief. Our main character's squad has finally made it back alive. Nishi proudly holds up the newly repaired phone. Seeing them from the high window, the girl basically bursts into happy tears. But for our psycho teacher, this is a disaster. Just look at this bastard's unhinged face breaking out in a nervous cold sweat. In his twisted head, his new kingdom has zero room for Rikuto. Outside, the boys yell to open the door, totally unaware of the violent maniac waiting inside. You and I both know, this weird silence is suspicious, right? Nishi feels it too, while the teacher sweats bullets over his ruined master plan. Hearing the main character's name instantly gives the girls hope. But Oyama knows one thing: if they spot the dead bodies, it is game over. He figures only Rikuto and Nishi are actual threats, confident he can easily manipulate and control the rest of the weak group. This lunatic is still fantasizing about his sick harem. Just look at his disgusting face. What a vile creep. Oyama walks over, warning the girls to stay dead silent if they want to live. Outside, it is way too quiet, so Nishi asks our protagonist for a game plan. Rikuto decides brute force is the only option left. He tells Kotone to just use the car and smash right through the heavy gate. Kotone is totally thrown off by this insane idea. But suddenly the gate opens and the teacher flashes a massive, totally fake smile at the group. Nishi proudly explains the phone is fixed and their supplies are fully maxed out. Alice pops up with a cute salute, and the teacher's face briefly twists in pure rage. He quickly hides it behind a fake smile, asking Rikuto and Nishi for a private chat. Nishi suggests bringing the whole squad inside, but Oyama insists on talking to just the two of them first. Our protagonist agrees, and the archer promises the group that they will be right back. Rikuto is fired up while Sakura carries their gear, but suddenly Kotone realizes Saito has completely vanished. Kotone wonders where that cowardly Saito ran off to. Meanwhile, the teacher leads our duo down an empty hallway, secretly laughing because he thinks he has already won. His master plans steal Nishi's bow and crown himself the new ruler of this world. Just look at this bastard's absolute psychotic stare. The classroom atmosphere turns freezing cold as Nishi demands answers. That is where we leave it. Trust me, you want to see this next fight. Alright, stick with me here. He blasts the extinguisher right into their faces, pulling a knife and laughing like an absolute demon. The teacher lunges at a blinded Nishi, but our guy's iron pipe is already flying. He blocks the attack totally calm. The absolute lunatic freezes up. Rikuto says his instincts never miss. Oyama wonders how he caught the betrayal. Our MC just points at the guy's sleeve covered in fresh human blood. He doesn't know what went down while they were gone. But yeah, this teacher crossed a massive line. The teacher suddenly remembers a student begging for mercy, warning that karma was going to get him. This bastard shakes with pure rage and charges in screaming that nobody is going to make him look stupid. But Rikuto isn't playing games. He jams the pipe straight into his mouth, sending Oyama flying backward. Our MC doesn't even blink. Meanwhile, off-screen, some harpies are dicing up students while a creepy guy watches, saying they are perfect. Dear God, just look at the size of those assets. Watch this guy closely. Sato declares it's time to start dropping a classic villain laugh with a sinister shadow. Back at the school, total hell. Students are treated like cattle and Kotone is forced to hold their binding rope. It is absolute total humiliation. Sakura tries to comfort her broken friend, while Hayashi just watches with the grin of a total psycho. Kotone completely breaks down. Hope is gone and pure despair fills the room of bodies. Nishi is absolutely furious. He grabs the teacher's collar, screaming about how he could betray his own group. But the guy is totally gone. He just laughs in the kid's face, asks if they really expect a rescue, telling him to face harsh reality. The world is over. Hope is dead. Everyone becomes monster food anyway. Just look at this lunatic's face. He just wanted to have some fun. Nishi boils over. He pulls his arm back, ready to beat this absolute trash into the ground, nearly smashing him. But Ruto grabs his arm. Fighting this worm is a waste of time, and they definitely aren't taking this maniac along. Sakura doesn't get it, but then Nishi drops a massive bomb on everyone. He says the phone works and they found a survivor village. The girls cry, finally seeing a tiny glimmer of hope. The teacher goes into full shock. Tied up, he begs them not to leave him, swearing he learned his lesson. The girls just glare at the coward. Our MC says they will judge this guy later, because right now something else needs attention. Out of nowhere, a bizarre digital symbol lights up. You and I both thought it was over. But nope, binary code melts the window. Synchronization is still happening. The ground starts shaking violently. MC runs to the window, watching data pillars crash into the city. It is insane. Monsters are spawning out of nowhere right in the streets. They are popping up everywhere outside. Nishi realizes the day one nightmare is repeating, and Sakura freezes, remembering the start. She doesn't get it. Weren't all the cell phones totally fried? Kato asks our boy what to do as a winged freak flies past. Boom, a harpy shatters the window and corners a girl. Total chaos erupts, and Nishi knows they are screwed all over again. Nishi gears up for battle. Our boy preps to face death again, shouting he won't die before smashing this harpy's ugly face. But the army outside. Absolute madness. Look at that massive horde rolling in. Nishi wastes zero time and completely floors a goblin bam. The squad regroups on the stairs. Ishii pops up, panicking, apologizing for losing the others. But there is zero time for crying. Check out that goblin crawling through the window behind him. Nishi yells at him to survive and blasts the monster's head off with one perfect arrow shot. But danger strikes from above. That crazy harpy dives straight for Kato, swooping past him in a terrifying flash. Even Sakura gets caught in the panic, completely freezing when she sees the size of those teeth. The metal pipe swooshes and Riko obliterates the harpy's head with one unbelievably clean strike. He asks if Kotone is alright. She blushes hard but gets suspicious because the monster basically avoided hitting her. Trust me, it gets wilder. Nishi warns the floor below is absolute hell. A massive monster horde is rushing up the stairs. With zero options, our boy says go up. He screams at everyone to hit the roof immediately. No questions asked. The whole squad starts sprinting up those stairs. Let's dive into this madness. Meanwhile, another kid is sprinting down a hallway. And yeah, he has a massive spider stuck to his foot. Out of nowhere, boom. A classic system screen pops up asking if he wants to be a hero. Hearing the voice, his brain short-circuits. He slams yes just to survive. The system processes the request, drops a magic sword, and fills him with an absolutely absurd power surge. The spider lunges with everything it has. But he just casually slices the monster right in half. He just stands there totally frozen, trying to compute how he suddenly became an overpowered role-playing game protagonist. The kid cannot even process his own strength. The girls, already worshipping him like an absolute god. It is a literal dream harem right in the middle of an apocalypse man. Nishi calls him number one. Our hero swears to protect everyone, but honestly, it is all just one massive hallucination. In reality, the poor dude is getting eaten alive while screaming about saving them. Meanwhile, in another hallway, friendship is officially dead. One girl tosses her friend to the slime for trying to sell her out earlier. She yells at her to die, completely ignoring the giant minotaur spawning right behind her back. The minotaur, zero interest in high school drama. It swings its axe, slicing her in half, while her friend literally dies, laughing inside the slime. The silence in these hallways is incredibly eerie. Inside the bathroom, that guy is still tied up, swearing he will build a personal paradise just for himself. Then, the door creeps open. Inamoto steps in straight up, calling the dude a cockroach for surviving this long. Can you believe this guy's nerve? You and I are watching him ramble about wanting a perfect life and a totally happy family. Inamoto says she wanted to grant his wish. But since he completely disrespected her, she is going to show off her true talents to settle the score. The teacher panics, desperately begging for forgiveness. She is not having it. One quick slash to his chest leaves the guy bleeding out on the cold floor while she just stands there laughing. She promises he will pay for everything. Suddenly, creepy shadows start rising directly from his blood. Absolutely bizarre. Souls of the victims come back to drag the coward straight to hell. He begs, but Enomoto is totally broken, laughing insanely as the blood keeps flowing. Karma delivered. Rikuto finally spots the rooftop door. Nishi asks for the grand plan, and the answer is simple. We wing it on the spot. He pushes the door open and finds Saito waiting there. Nishi instantly celebrates, hyped that the guy actually survived. But look at that sinister shadow behind him. He smirks, saying the actors are gathered, and announces, "He has been waiting for our boy." Saito thanks them for safely escorting Kotone. Nishi wonders if he hit his head, but Rikuto instantly senses danger, while Saito goes full anime villain mode. Then a massive skull violently emerges right from his shadows. Everyone in the back completely panics. Nishi spots a role-playing game lich. He just cannot grasp why this top-tier monster is actively protecting a coward. Saito explains he let the monster use his body just to acquire a summoning system. He tells them to mind their own business, then instantly begins summoning something incredibly bizarre. Watch closely here. A massive data pillar falls, destroying everything. Rikuto can only stare at the pure devastation. Harpies and goblins pour out of the blinding light. In mere seconds, the rooftop is completely packed with furious monsters. Absolute fear. Sakura and the blonde guy literally feel like their brains are frying from the terrifying sight. The vibe is exactly like the day the apocalypse started. And then Saito totally loses it, screaming that he is finally the one in charge. Saito struts around like he owns the planet. He brags that for now he only controls these low-level mobs, but soon he will be commanding elite boss monsters. Staring at the burning city, he claims that with him in power, nobody ever needs to feel fear again. He turns straight to Kotone. Swears he will protect her now, telling her she can finally stop relying on absolute trash like Rikuto. Flashing a super twisted smile, he calls the terrified girl over. But Kotone asks the real question: did he send those monsters to their classroom? And this psycho shamelessly admits it. She remembers every single brutal death. But Saito Zero regrets. The lunatic says she is the only one he needs. Shaking with pure rage, she hits him with the truth: he is not human anymore. She has seen crazy creatures today, but screams that he is the absolute worst monster here. The lunatic freezes in shock. Meanwhile, the dark energy surrounding his body gets incredibly heavy. He enters complete denial. He starts freaking out so intensely that Nishi physically braces for the absolute worst. Roaring that she is wrong, Saito erupts with explosive dark energy, violently blasting everyone backward with sheer pressure. The girls are stunned. And honestly, you and I would be too, just look at him. Saito just mutated into a massive skull monster. Drooling with raw rage over Kotone choosing our boy, he screams. He does not need her anymore. He orders the entire horde to attack. Rikuto and Nishi instantly throw up a defense. They yell for the girls to fall back, while our boy starts casually clearing this monster zoo with a steel pipe. He perfectly blocks a strike from some lizard-faced freak, buying enough time for the girls to sprint for safety. Let's dive right in. Sakura screams out warning about the creature right behind Kotone. Our boy jumps in, blocking the hit with his pipe, but the force is insane. He gets thrown back and Kotone freezes as Rikuto brutally slams into the wall. Nishi and Taishi rush in to fight while the girls sprint straight toward the main character. Kotone and Sakura rush to his side. But our boy is a complete mess, bleeding heavily and slumped against the cold wall. Suddenly, the mind of Rikuto completely zones out. Next thing he knows, he is standing back inside his own bedroom. He is totally confused about what is happening until he sees someone walking through the door. It is Serato, his absolute trash of a brother, flashing that nasty, mocking grin. Back in reality, Kotone is fully crying. She begs him to wake up, holding on to him like the world is ending. Sakura and Aisu just stand there completely frozen in shock. Thinking our hero is finished, Nishi tries holding off the monster wave. But seeing Rikuto knocked out cold sends him into absolute panic. A lizard monster suddenly lunges, but Taishi steps up and intercepts it with a massive punch. The kid completely freezes up. But the former bully yells at him to keep fighting. Facing the monsters, he remembers Rikuto's bravery, which gives our archer an epic motivation boost. Seeing this big, tough guy shielding everyone is honestly crazy. Nishi finally snaps out of it, pulling himself together to aim at the next target. Nishi remembers Rikuto never backs down. He fires an arrow to clear a path while Aisu goes totally all out. But then the skull monster drops a bomb. The main character's heart has officially stopped. Wait, they suddenly remember something. Before this whole apocalypse started, Kotone wanted to be a doctor. She stares down at Rikuto on the floor. Seeing what is about to happen, Sakura instantly turns bright red. Kotone starts mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. She is absolutely determined to not let him die. Watch closely here. If that impact just stopped his heart, there is still a chance. Sakura sees Kotone fighting to save him and realizes she has to do something too. But there is one huge problem: she is out of dynamite. She figures out that this monster is a lich, an elite undead boss. And honestly, Nishi and Taishi will not last much longer fighting it alone. Right then, she spots the badly bent metal pipe lying on the floor. Light bulb moment. She decides to test out a brand new technique. Meanwhile, the giant skull monster just stands there watching this chaos. It cannot understand why these kids care so much about Rikuto, but then boom, he takes an arrow straight to the face to cure that curiosity. Nishi boldly shouts that everyone here cares about the main character, but the Lich just does a classic sinister villain laugh, promising to send the whole squad straight to the grave with him. Deep inside Rikuto's mind, a brutal flashback is playing. Serato is literally stepping on his face, showing absolutely zero mercy. As a kid, he was treated like pure garbage, getting beaten up constantly, told his existence was totally worthless, and that nobody would even care if he vanished. The absolute bastard tells him to just give up and die already. I know what you're thinking. He actually starts believing this dark fate. Trapped alone in that void, Rikuto feels no different from a mindless undead. He feels like even after trying his absolute hardest, he could not change a single thing. He is totally ready to become a soulless zombie, but suddenly someone grabs his hand super tight. It is Kotone. She tells him he is not alone anymore, and his whole squad is waiting for him. Hearing her use his childhood nickname, our boy breaks down and finally lets a tear fall. Even Serato, standing right there in the background, looks totally confused by this shift. Rikuto admits out loud, before this he did not care if he died. But now he actually has a home to return to. Flashback to the past. He finally stands up to his older brother, charging forward with zero fear, and throwing a massive punch straight into the idiot's face. The bastard is left in pure shock. Our main character decides to fight until his final breath. The mind nightmare finally shatters completely. He wakes up coughing his lungs out. Kotone cries, pure tears of relief, swearing she thought our boy was gone forever. Fully back in reality, Rikuto explains the truth. If she had not screamed his name, he would have let himself fade into the void for good. His gentle smile is so rare that Kotone actually gets flustered. Suddenly, Sakura rushes in like a maniac, handing over his newly upgraded metal pipe. Using a chemical reaction, she coated the iron in silver because in role-playing games, skeletons hate that metal. The blonde girl is super nervous about using gamer logic in real life, but our boy happily assures her she totally nailed it. Rikuto thanks her and immediately sprints at full speed back into the battle, while the girls stay behind to cheer him on. Nishi and the squad are barely holding the line, but they go absolutely crazy with joy when they see our hero is back. That giant skeleton boss, on the other hand, it does not like his little comeback one bit. Rikuto storms in, immediately ordering everyone to cover his back. Nishi is a little confused at first, but quickly realizes the insane plan they are going all in. Things get super intense, blood goes flying everywhere, but even more annoying monsters decide to join the party. Aisu does not stop her crazy bombardment for a second, blasting a monster wolf coming from right above them. Everyone is exhausted, but nobody touches him. He gives thanks, and trust me, we're about to watch him focus on what really matters. You and I are about to watch something wild. That skeleton swings its freaky tail, but Rikuto easily jumps it, driving silver right into its chest. He buries that silver deep into its neck. The boss instantly turns into black smoke, completely erased from this world. Game over. Kotone totally breaks down. Tears falling, she calls out for Saito, begging forgiveness for everything. Nishi and the crew watch those shadows vanish. It finally hits them, the boss is totally defeated. Our guy just flops onto his back, completely drained. Fighting for his life actually gave him a brand new purpose. The whole squad rushes over to celebrate with our MC. Rikuto just chills there, soaking up the sweet feeling of survival. Fast forward a bit, moving day arrives and their van is absolutely packed with survival supplies. Giving the building one last look, a heavy sadness hits. So many people they couldn't save. But our MC, he keeps it 100% real. To stay alive, they absolutely cannot let the past drag them down. Everyone nods, completely locked in and ready for the plan. Alright, let's go. Next stop is Amashima, and things are about to get crazy. The group hits the gas, speeding down the road, chasing hope. Now pay attention here. The road isn't safe, and out of nowhere this girl shows up just slicing Medusas to pieces. She violently stabs a knife into a pole, loudly warning everyone to avoid making eye contact with these freaks. Looking dead serious, the stranger watches quietly. Meanwhile, the danger ahead is only getting worse. A few days pass on the road. Surprise, not every monster wants to eat them. Just look at those majestic unicorns chilling over there. The road trip continues. Nishi asks for a location update. Rikuto points right at the map, confirming they are finally almost there. Gas tank is full, but the archer looks super stressed. He opens up about his little sister. Thanks to family drama, they lived apart, and her home is exactly where they are currently heading. But watching giant wolves snack on humans along the highway, terrifying. It seriously kills any hope he had left inside him. Nishi is totally stuck in his gloomy feelings. But Rikuto jumps in to comfort him, insisting that his sister has to be okay. The archer asks how he could possibly know that. Rikuto keeps it real. If she is half as stubborn as her big brother, she is definitely out there kicking those monsters to the curb. The vibe instantly lightens up. The MC smiles, Nishi gets totally flustered and embarrassed, and Kotone just cracks up laughing. He decides there is zero reason to suffer early. But classic manhwa timing piece never lasts. Out of nowhere, a massive shadow covers their car. Total panic inside the van, Nishi glances out the window and realizes just how gigantic their new problem is. An enormous dragon tears through the sky straight at them. Boom, an epic high-speed chase starts right in the city. Pure chaos. Nishi screams that the monster is practically eating their bumper, begging Kotone to lose it. She floors the gas pedal and yells at everyone to hold on tight. The beast violently slams onto the road, totally wrecking the asphalt. It growls, getting way too close. I know what you're thinking, just hide right, but the beast beats its wings, staying airborne to track them. Despairing, Nishi realizes this dragon is ridiculously fast, practically fused to their bumper. Inside the van, Alice and Sakura are screaming at the absolute top of their lungs. Our archer points ahead, screaming that a highway exit is coming up fast. Kotone yanks that wheel hard. The monster dives in for the kill, but somehow they perfectly swerve and actually shake the beast off. Absolutely furious, the dragon snorts with rage. It circles back to the road, super determined to shred them. Nishi completely freaks out, asking Rikuto for a plan. Our MC shuts it down. Fighting a monster like that is basically a death wish. The dragon relentlessly chases them, snapping its jaws at the car. But wait. While this insane chaos happens, someone is secretly watching from high above. Peering through her binoculars, she watches the crazy high-speed chase, and it looks like she recognizes someone inside that poor doomed van. Biker girl just snaps her fingers, revs up her roaring motorcycle engine, and decides to crash this little party. She hits the gas, cutting right through traffic. Meanwhile, that dragon is still snorting directly above them. Sakura is practically having a full meltdown. Nishi fires a desperate arrow, but even with a direct hit, the dragon literally feels nothing. Nishi completely panics, but Rikuto yells that running is their only shot. Kotone floors it under an overpass, driving like crazy to avoid crashing. The massive dragon tries to squeeze through, but its huge size blocks it. The crew inside is basically getting turned into human milkshakes. The beast slams hard into a concrete beam, and they finally think they lost it. But comedy timing strikes again. The van's engine suddenly chokes, spewing thick black smoke right in the street. Our MC realizes the poor engine is totally dead. And yep, the angry dragon is already hovering right above them. The beast swoops in drooling, and Rikuto screams at everyone to abandon the van immediately. They all jump out, sprinting as the beast crashes down. But Sakura trips. The dragon opens its massive jaws, ready for dinner. So what do you and I think happens next? You're definitely gonna want to stick around. But our main guy is faster. He yanks Kujo out of danger, leaving her blushing completely bright red. You and I aren't ready for this beast's giant talon. The monster lunges in for a double bite. But boom, Takeshi arrives just in time, jamming a massive boulder right into the creature's jaws. Takeshi grapples the beast by its teeth. Nishi signals and the guy nails an absolutely perfect headshot right into the monster's face. The dragon screams in pure agony, buying them precious seconds to run. The archer panics, asking for orders, but our MC just freezes, leaving everyone totally stunned. Nishi stares up at the sky, absolutely paralyzed with shock. The real danger is airborne. It turns out that wasn't the only dragon. They literally just walked right into their territory. Nishi frantically screams at Rikuto to watch his back. Now watch this with me. They turn around, coming face to face with a colossal, absolutely massive red dragon. The worst part, it brought friends. The entire sky is swarming with these flying nightmares. Our boy yells at Kato to run, but suddenly someone fires a blinding flare gun. The flare rips through the sky. A massive explosion of pure white light instantly illuminates the entire neighborhood. The crew immediately covers their eyes to avoid going completely blind. Disoriented by the flash, the dragon starts shrieking. The airborne beasts fly around totally confused while Nishi wonders what just happened. Suddenly a sleek motorcycle skids into view, revealing a white-haired girl dripping with absolute swagger. Everyone is mind-blown to see another survivor. She quickly explains these monsters follow the light, warning them that the flare is just a temporary distraction. The stranger screams at them to run, yelling that nobody wants to become wyvern snacks today. Nishi frantically asks Rikuto for a plan. Our main character decides their only real option is trusting her. The biker orders them to move it, and the squad sprints after her motorcycle like there is literally no tomorrow. Hitting the subway entrance, Nishi screams at Sakura to hustle. A furious red wyvern dive bombs the blonde, nearly taking a massive bite out of the poor girl right before she leaps inside. She completely collapses on the floor, gasping for air, fully realizing she just dodged death. But their motorcycle savior is already waiting down there, looking absolutely furious. She snaps that her entire escape plan was totally ruined by these idiots driving a loud car. The biker girl rips into the squad, calling them morons for baiting the monsters with roaring engines. Our boy just flashes a calm smile, casually thanking her for saving their lives. She clicks her tongue, looking away before ordering them to follow if they actually want to survive. The main character agrees, and the crew steps into the pitch-black subway tunnel trailing the motorcycle. He asks if this dark tunnel is even safe. She confidently promises they already cleared the area. Rikuto gets suspicious when she mentions the word "we," while Nishi is totally shocked hearing about a massive survivor camp nearby. Rikuto quietly analyzes everything while Kato and Sakura are busy celebrating their epic rescue, but the MC and Nishi stay super alert. These girls drop their guard way too easily. They hike down the dark tracks for a while, finally spotting a bright light ahead. I know what you are thinking. An underground village, yep, tents and fires everywhere. Kato and Sakura are completely blown away by this massive refuge. The squad hops onto the platform, but the archer immediately senses the vibe here is seriously off. Glancing around the camp, Nishi realizes the atmosphere is incredibly tense. Out of nowhere, a guy yells Ginkgo's name. 3 huge brutes corner her, and the leader aggressively grabs her jacket, chewing her out right in front of the crowd. He calls her an arrogant brat, threatening to turn her into the group's personal cooking slave. This absolute trash raises his fist to strike, but Rikuto casually catches the punch mid-air. Rikuto drops a freezing cold warning. The brute is totally confused, staring at this red-eyed lunatic who just blocked his hit. Our boy squeezes his shoulder with insane grip strength, forcing the thug to back off. The guy demands their names while Kato and Sakura watch, completely terrified. The thug completely loses his mind, screaming about rebels, and orders his goons to pull their knives. Suddenly, a deep voice orders everyone to stop. The entire crowd literally freezes as the big boss enters. This guy Hizaki questions the point of rules if nobody follows them. Then he flashes this creepy smile, definitely hiding some dark secret. He politely apologizes for the hostile welcome, claiming his underling is simply stressed out from their latest monster hunt. The redhead quickly figures out they are heading to Amashima, casually offering an alliance so everyone survives this nightmare. Hizaki formally invites our squad to join his camp, calling this underground setup the absolute last hope for humanity. Rikuto and Nishi stepping into the main station office, Hizaki welcomes the entire crew with this massive super fake grin. The redhead introduces himself as the leader. So what do you and I make of this guy? Total red flag. So the guy finally agrees to spill everything. Stick with me here. He explains how the world glitched with actual monsters crawling right out of every single cell phone. Bro, just look at the absolute size of that spider. Zero chance any normal person survives a freak like that. The monster numbers were totally insane. Even the military got crushed with these beasts swatting down attack helicopters like annoying flies. In just minutes, our entire modern society got turned into smoking rubble and wrecked tanks. Hizaki says the rumors are way worse. Massive fantasy dragons spawned out of nowhere, literally wiping out the entire military in one day. The group listens in pure shock. The girls finally realize nobody is coming to save them, but Nishi smells something fishy. He wonders why the absolute strongest boss monsters went straight for the heavy military bases. He recalls rumors about controlling these freaks, some sketchy mythic summoning system that would honestly explain a whole lot. Since these beasts follow totally obvious RPG logic, everything points to one twisted mastermind running this entire apocalypse. Rikuto is just completely baffled trying to figure out who this crazy lunatic is. The redhead explains that despite massive casualties, survivors still exist. Their big plan is to group up, use the internet, and finally reach Amashima City, basically the last safe zone. Sakura actually tears up a bit, finally seeing some real hope. But Rikuto instantly kills the vibe, saying land travel is impossible, and Hizaki totally agrees. He points out that flying monsters are the real nightmare since the road to the city is absolutely swarming with wyverns. Now watch. If they dive bomb together, you and I know it's an instant game over. Hizaki says going underground is pure suicide too. A massive worm patrols those tunnels. It hates light, which is the only thing keeping this station safe. Sakura is totally freaking out in pure despair. But then Hizaki drops a bomb, claiming they have a counterattack plan. Everyone honestly wonders if he is joking. He says his squad has been grinding hard every single day and straight up invites our guy to join forces. With literally zero better options, Rikuto accepts the offer, and the rest of the group instantly jumps on board. Hizaki gets right to bossing people around, assigning our crew to the hunting team. Suddenly, the silver-haired girl steps in and questions that choice. But the redhead thinks it over and confirms the rookies will hunt. She argues that hunting is way too deadly, tossing them the glorious job of digging instead. She claims the kitchen is already full, adding that tunnel digging is just way too brutal and exhausting for the girls. The girls are totally stunned, and Kato nervously admits she would rather just cook. The girl drags the guys over for the mission, officially introducing herself as a seasoned hunter. Nishi asks what gives, and she bluntly says they need meat to cover losses. Kato shouts out to Rikuto looking super anxious, but our MC promises they will make it back in one piece. The silver-haired girl is entirely over this dramatic rom-com moment, yelling at everyone to just hurry up and move. Up above the city is a literal wyvern nest, forcing all the desperate survivors to scramble underground. But underground is absolute panic when the floor violently shakes. Boom! A massive worm crashes through the ceiling, claiming the tunnel as its turf. Trapped. The blonde guy reveals his final crazy move. He wants to power up a train and literally run this giant freak over. A stopped train is sitting nearby, but the girls are going to have to sweat big time clearing out all that heavy rubble. Nishi genuinely questions if they can pull this off, while Rikuto just silently observes everything. The guide explains fixing the train takes a lot of time, so their job is playing hunter to scavenge for resources on the surface. He brutally drops the truth. His squad is elite, and anyone acting useless immediately becomes fresh monster bait. The kid is totally paralyzed. Nishi agrees this is pure hell, but Rikuto knows they are stuck with no other options. For now they play by the rules, and our boy knows level 1 rookies absolutely do not get to complain. I know what you're thinking, this is a trap, right? With dragons outside, it's super sketchy how these people are literally smiling as they march toward death. Nishi recalls how terrified everyone was back at school. He figures Hizaki must just have some insanely overpowered leadership aura going on. But our MC spots something way darker. If that giant worm is hanging out down there, why has it not eaten everyone already? The guide harshly snaps at them, demanding to know what the new guys are secretly whispering about. The squad keeps pushing deeper into what honestly looks like a super creepy ghost station. Climbing the broken escalators, the guide points out that the deadly surface exit is right ahead. He grabs a glowing flare, explaining they will distract the angry wyvern to scavenge. But since they are completely out of ammo, he suddenly asks if our guy can magically sense monsters. Trust me, we aren't ready for this guy's psycho face. Let's dive into this madness. The boys climb those stairs absolutely terrified, while the guide just flashes a mocking grin and tells them to make themselves useful. The jerk asks if they will finally admit they are trash. Nishi leans in and whispers to Rikuto these guys are seriously messed up in the head. Our boy goes completely quiet. He is thinking hard. But then, he suddenly steps right up and volunteers to go first. Total silence. Everyone is completely confused by the main character's sudden burst of bravery. Even Ginkgo actually stops to stare at him. That ugly dude mocks her for playing nice with the newbies. But she shuts him down. She refuses to let some rookie mistake wipe out the whole team. Our boy refuses to back down. He says he is coming along even when Ginkgo complains he will just be dead weight. She asks if he is trying to play the hero. Rikuto casually explains that 2 scouts are safer, one can literally be human bait if things go bad. The silver-haired girl is absolutely speechless at how cold that logic is. She finally gives up and tells the main character to do whatever. Nishi tries tagging along, but Rikuto tells him to stay put. He promises he won't die like some cheap pawn. In the end, she agrees and tells him to hurry up. 15 minutes into patrol, Rikuto figures the alleys are safest. But then he spots his partner randomly crouching in a dark corner. He asks what she is doing. She warns him about a plant that literally screams if pulled out, just like a mandrake from the movies. Our protagonist instantly draws his knife. The bloody warnings on the wall specifically say to eliminate any intruder. He asks why she even came if it is so dangerous. The platinum blonde snaps back that she does not need a hero. Rikuto calmly explains he needs to earn the group's trust. Team unity is just a necessary cost for survival. He fully trusts Yamaoka to keep everyone in line right now. He asks if that logic makes sense. The girl actually gets pretty flustered by his ice-cold attitude. Now watch closely because things get wild. The conversation dies as she suddenly launches a high kick spinning through the air right in front of Rikuto. She says absurdity has limits and keeps flipping. Our boy is completely stunned as she attacks fast, dropping down on him with absolute force. Our boy blocks with his pipe, but her agility is totally next level. Rikuto realizes she is fast but has zero technique. He drops his guard and instantly gets grabbed by the collar. Slammed to the dirt in a blink, knife right at his throat. Like I said, you are weak. She says it straight to his face, then just bolts. The platinum blonde scales that building with completely absurd agility. Look at this absolute ninja. She leaps across the rooftops like nothing, leaving Rikuto flat on the ground, totally stunned by the pure humiliation. From high up, she calls him dead weight. He yells back that going solo is pure suicide, but the girl just gives a mocking smirk. Knock me down first, she teases. She tells him to head back and vanishes, leaving our guy alone to process that brutal rejection. Up on another roof, she pulls out her binoculars and spots 3 giant dragons. Instantly, all her confident swagger completely vanishes. She checks her map from the top, totally convinced those dragons are super easy to avoid if she just keeps her distance. She decides to retreat, but wants to grab a quick item first. Even while jumping, she is still bragging about dumping dead weight, like Rikuto. The girl slips into a dark alley for a shortcut, but suddenly gets a really bad feeling. You and I totally saw this coming, right? 3 giant dragons block her path. Talk about a massive mistake. She sees eggshells scattered everywhere and realizes the nest already hatched. Right on cue, a mini wyvern lunges straight at her face. Suddenly, Rikuto's warning echoes in her head. Going solo was stupid, and human logic means absolutely nothing against these monsters. But since she never relied on anyone to save her, she takes a brutal bite straight to the shoulder. And now she is sprinting away, completely out of breath. Back on the roof, dragons closing in, she slips and falls right into the abyss. Falling, she realizes she never really had anyone by her side. Flashback time. We see her school life was absolute garbage. While everyone had fun, jealous girls called her a show-off just for being pretty. They even said her eyes were completely freakish. They made up ridiculous rumors just to isolate her. But honestly, this tragic mess started way earlier back at this playground. Even back then, she was sending bullies running. The boys literally fled, apologizing for taking a beating from her. But when she reached out to help the victims, even they looked at her like some kind of monster. Watching them all run, she just accepted she was a freak. Nobody wanted her anywhere near them. Back to reality. She is lying on the ground, swearing to herself she will never need saving. So what do we take from this? As the creatures dive to finish her, she remembers wanting just one real friend. Let's dive right into this crazy mess. The monsters close in, completely drooling, and Fuyusa officially accepts her lonely, terrible end. But wait, a foot literally drops into the frame. Rikuto crashes the party, blasting the path clear with one epic strike while she just freezes. She frantically asks why he is even here. Our main character just tells her to freeze and shut up. Our guy reaches into his jacket, whips out a store-bought flare, and sparks it up without a single second of hesitation. He starts screaming his lungs out to attract the beasts. Fuyusa just watches, completely blown away by his absolute insanity. She calls him a total idiot for using a light, knowing these freaks love brightness. But guess what? That was the plan. Playing the ultimate bait to save her skin, he sprints right into the center of the alley, pulling every single monster his way. Suddenly, one freaky monster blitzes past, grazing his cheek. Our boy instantly realizes that fighting these nasty things on foot is just a terrible idea. Rikuto keeps sprinting at max speed but suddenly stops dead. Something feels way off. He realizes half the monsters stopped chasing him. Looking up, he sees the swarm spreading out. Red wyverns are totally surrounding the alleyway. Now watch closely. The beasts growl, ready to strike. Totally surrounded with zero escape, he just grips his iron pipe tighter. Meanwhile, Fuyusa is still crawling in the dirt, desperately wondering what this absolute lunatic is actually planning. She honestly cannot believe his stupidity right now, literally screaming to ask if he has a death wish. The sky fills with terrifying black shadows, and those are definitely not pigeons. The red wyverns dive bomb, destroying everything while our guy desperately sprints. He literally begs his legs to keep moving, but bam, he takes a massive heavy hit straight to the back. The crazy impact sends him flying through the air. Hitting the dirt, he seriously wonders if it is game over. Rikuto freezes with pure death, staring right at him. The wyverns, they do not wait around, instantly swooping in for the final kill. Face planted in the dirt, our boy just lays there. He cracks a wild smile and mutters checkmate. This game is officially done. Boom. Out of nowhere, an insane flash erupts between the buildings, ripping through the city sky. Fuyusa is completely lost and confused. She curls into a ball as hurricane winds nearly launch her into orbit, staying frozen while the blast wave hits hard. Totally deafened and stunned by the explosion, Fuyusa panics and aggressively rushes into the alleyway, searching for our hero. The eerie silence afterward is just weird. When she finally reaches ground zero, every single wyvern is totally wiped out. Rikuto is sprawled out flat. The monsters, dead. She stares at his completely wrecked body, with fresh blood visibly pouring straight from his ears. Laying right next to him is a pulled-up mandrake. He used its lethal scream. You probably think he sacrificed himself, right? Well, think again. The main character slowly opens his eyes and struggles to sit straight up. Seeing him actually alive, Fuyusa nearly jumps backward in pure shock, stammering like crazy. She literally cannot believe her eyes. She unleashes a massive scream that echoes straight through the entire neighborhood. Asking how he survived, Rikuto hears absolutely zero. She totally freaks out the second she sees all that fresh blood dripping down. His genius plan, intentionally blowing out his own eardrums to tank the monster plant. A quick flashback reveals his wild sacrifice to survive. Fuyusa is shook, finally realizing this dude is a certified madman. He just stares back, happily deaf to the world. Still freaking out and calling him insane, she grabs our boy to help support his injured body. She simply cannot understand why he went this incredibly far for a random stranger. But since Rikuto is totally silent, she just accepts carrying that emotional burden. They drag themselves out of that filthy alley, leaving everyone questioning why on earth this weird apocalypse even kicked off to begin with. Rikuto keeps rocking that totally blank face. Fuyuse wonders if it is time to reveal the full truth, remembering a shiny cross necklace, while the ruined city remains an absolute living nightmare. Reaching the building, they hear terrified screams about baby wyverns. Suddenly, 2 other survivors pop up, and one of them is literally losing his mind. The scarred blonde guy, Ejima, announces their hunting tactics must change now. He instantly congratulates our boy on a really awesome job. Ejima gives Rikuto a massive hard slap on the back. Fuyuse angrily yells that our guy is already completely wrecked. Everyone calls him totally reckless. Being deaf, he just nods along to the silence. Fast forward 2 weeks, and this squad becomes the absolute elite. Ejima boldly leads searches with bright flares. Hauling a supply cart straight through monster territory, Nishi covers them with his bow, and Ejima casually smashes a path clear with his staff. Even that stubborn platinum-haired girl finally dropped her guard, proudly fighting right alongside our main guy. Their teamwork is off the charts, tearing up wyverns. Meanwhile, Kotone and Sakura are literally sweating bullets, digging to keep the whole base alive. Every single day gets harder, but seeing the crew chilling together brings real hope. Still, our boy deeply senses that something is completely wrong. A heavy atmosphere covers the survivors. Where is this bad vibe coming from? Well, you and I are about to find out. Let's jump back into the madness together. Walking with Nishi, my boy asks about his hearing. Rikuto says it's getting better, but he's still half deaf. Nishi just sighs. How long are they going to live like absolute rats? Our MC has 0 answers. Suddenly, a random scream nearby makes Nishi jump out of his skin. Fuyuse is surrounded by some mean girls trying to force-feed her a drink. The platinum-haired girl slaps the cup away. The bully absolutely loses it, screaming that Fuyuse just reminds them of their own uselessness. Nishi rushes to help, but Fuyuse brushes it off. He realizes she is exactly like Rikuto, always hiding her true feelings. Rikuto notices something super weird. Ojima and the upperclassmen are laughing it up, while everyone else literally looks like they are at a funeral. He asks what the deal is, and Nishi remembers Hazaki gives massive bonuses to top performers. Out of nowhere, Fuyuse calls our MC over. Nishi completely freezes, thinking a love confession is dropping. Over at the dig site, Sakura finishes bandaging Kotone's leg. They literally cannot stop praising Hazaki like he is some kind of angel. Speak of the devil, Hazaki shows up claiming heavy digging is way too tough for girls. Flashing that totally fake saintly smile, he transfers them to the kitchen. Sakura celebrates like she just won the absolute lottery, but Kotone is highly suspicious. Everyone else is giving them major pity looks while the upperclassmen watch them leave like they know a dark secret. The 2 girls head back to the shelter, finding Rikuto and the whole crew waiting. Our MC immediately asks what Fuyuse wants, and she decides to skip the small talk completely. Now pay close attention here. Fuyuse says she knows the truth behind the great calamity, absolutely shocking Nishi. She is dead sure about its origin. There is one man behind this entire apocalypse, and the bastard's name is Kurogane Rikuto. Just look at the pure terror in Rikuto's eyes. Hearing the culprit's name, Nishi discovers our MC actually has an adoptive older brother. Our boy tries playing it off as just ancient history, but Kotone clearly remembers how that absolute piece of trash used to walk all over him. Rikuto nervously asks what she meant by Rikuto being involved in the world ending. She fully admits she does not know everything, but she guarantees he is at the center of this disaster. He is the reason everything terrible happened to her mother. Then the vibe completely shifts. We flash back exactly 1 week before the calamity to a totally normal day. Fuyuse is just chilling at home, gaming on her phone and complaining about some annoying mobs respawning. Slimes, golems, and wyverns have killed her tons of times already. But by now, she has memorized every single attack pattern and weakness. Slimes absolutely hate fire, so she burns them all down. She explains that golems also have a secret. Their ultimate weak spot is the E on their foreheads. Wyverns are naturally drawn to any kind of light, so completely avoiding them is the best play. The flashback then cuts to Rikuto visiting Yukina in the hospital, rambling about some mythical summoning system. He praises her genius mind and offers her a top-tier hospital transfer. When she stays totally cold and silent, he just leaves, claiming her data files are enough. You and I know a villain speech when we hear one. He claims he'll change the world, leaving Yukina in total silence. In the hallway, he walks right past Ginko, without even noticing her. She enters the room demanding to know who that pushy weirdo was, but her mom brushes it off as just a random visitor. But immediately after, her mom asks if Ginko actually went to class today. The girl freezes, admitting she skipped. She complains the classroom is just full of boring idiots anyway. Her mom bluntly tells her that with an attitude like that, she will literally never make friends, ending it by pulling a totally goofy face to make her daughter smile. Ginko argues that friends are a huge hassle and she is perfectly fine playing solo. But Yukina calls her bluff, asking why she always helps people in trouble then. Her mom says she has a huge heart and will eventually find her true crowd. She assures her that an amazing friend is coming soon. Dodging the topic, she brings up her mom's MSF game. She casually mentions finally soloing the Northern Region boss, leaving Yukina absolutely stunned since she designed that exact stage to be a total nightmare. This game has 0 levels or magic, just pure brainpower and using everyday items. As we see the hospital exterior, Ginkgo asks if the game character Sylvia was actually based on her. She says the game is epic, but it is incomplete and she is dying to know the ending. Her mom plays coy, calling it an industry secret, leaving Ginkgo super annoyed. All she wanted was to enjoy the time she had left with her mom. But fate had entirely different plans. Then one random day with 0 warning the real apocalypse hit, and that's where we leave it. Ginkgo freezes as dragons and ogres spawn out of nowhere, turning reality into a burning RPG lobby. Let's jump into this nightmare. The entire place became a slaughterhouse, monsters burning people without mercy. Ginkgo is completely shaken. Seeing the scattered phones where the monsters actually spawned, she notices something wildly bizarre. She recognizes these creatures instantly. From the lizard to the harpy, they are from her mother's game. The sheer shock hits her when she remembers her mom. She immediately sprints to find her until a piercing scream stops her cold. Goblins are cornering some girls. Seriously, look at the terrible luck on these survivors. She remembers them calling her a freak and considers walking away, but her mom's advice echoes in her head. Then the goblins spot our girl standing there. One of the ugly things leaps right at her, club swinging. Our girl feels that the bloodlust is totally real now, but she has already soloed thousands of these in video games, landing a completely flawless kick right in its balls. The creature drops, drooling hard. She instantly rushes the other monsters. These things are super strong, but their stamina is totally human. So our girl completely wears the punk down. She dives straight at another goblin, locking its neck in a brutal rear naked choke until the beast finally passes out cold. But after clearing them out and looking around, she realizes the brutal truth: she was too late to save those girls. With her heart in her throat, she quietly apologizes, gripping her knife while staring at the bloody floor. You're going to want to watch this. The blood trail continues and the city is an all-you-can-eat buffet with 3-eyed wolves devouring everyone. Our girl reaches the hospital on a prayer, bursting inside while already slicing up a lizard man. The hospital is pure chaos. Full of dead creatures, she keeps sprinting in absolute desperation. She bursts into the room, screaming for her mother, but finds total emptiness and a blowing curtain. The spotless room has 0 blood, leaving Ginkgo completely confused. Then she hears grumbling from the closet. Opening the door, she finds her mom aggressively typing away, cursing out someone named Serato. The woman explains her computer is the only one working, jumping in surprise when her daughter violently yells to get out. Ginkgo reaches out her hand, but the old lady is at her physical limit. She insists she must finish something super important, but Ginkgo warns they will definitely be devoured here. Her mom finally agrees, refusing to die here. But suddenly, a massive thing crashes through the wall, destroying everything with one monstrous claw. The insane size completely stuns them both. They realize it is a giant scorpion monster. Ginkgo immediately recognizes this video game sub-boss, but then the beast absolutely stomps her laptop into pieces. "My computer," the old lady screams out in pure despair. Her daughter pulls her knife to defend her. It is go time. Ginkgo tells the old lady to stay totally calm and trust her, quickly analyzing the giant scorpion. She clearly remembers this creature was an absolute nightmare in the game, but knows its shell has one weak point. But if she misses her strike, that tail will pierce her chest. She glances back at her fiercely coughing mother. The woman sadly apologizes for being a burden, and Ginkgo knows running is impossible. She tightens her grip on the blade and charges just as the pincer rips through the floor. The beast strikes, and Ginkgo perfectly times a counterattack learned from the game, but she steps completely wrong on a rock, and the plan falls apart instantly. She does manage to drive her knife in, but it is way too shallow. The heavy pincer hits like a truck, crushing the poor girl with force. She coughs up blood, and I know you and I could never handle that pain. The deadly stinger rises, coming down like lightning toward Ginkgo. She freezes on the spot as certain death approaches, but Yukina looks back with a gentle smile, jumping in front to take the hit. The stinger brutally pierces Yukina's chest, and Ginkgo falls into total despair. Blood splashes everywhere while she stabs the claw, and the beast lets out a victorious roar. The monster lets our girl go, and Ginkgo leaps up in pure panic. Outside, dragons surround the hospital, while the giant scorpion finally blacks out completely. Our girl instantly runs to hold her mom, freaking out to find an antidote that absolutely does not exist. The brutal chest damage is fatal, but Yukina still tries comforting her heartbroken daughter with a gentle, loving touch. She desperately asks forgiveness for everything, saying the deaths of all these innocent people are her fault. Her mother tells her to take a pendant, revealing it is a memory card containing the absolute truth about everything. "It is our only hope," she says, heavily coughing up blood. She tells our girl to reach Amashima City, saying Serato planned this whole mess, while Ginkgo begs her to stop. Her mother tells Ginkgo she loves her, saying she has always been incredibly proud. She thought she was ready. The woman apologizes again for being a burden and tragically dies in her arms. It was all too fast and cruel. So, what do you and I take from this wild nightmare? If they really want answers, Amashima City is exactly where they need to go. You and I are jumping right back in. The group is lost, processing this info. She tells them they can doubt her if they want. But Rikuto plays it straight, he trusts her completely, and they are moving forward together. Ginkgo is left totally speechless by our main character's bold attitude. She sighs hard, calling him an absolute idiot with a heart that's way too soft. Meanwhile, over in some shady office, we spot a blue notebook sitting right on the desk. Hizaki and Ijima are chatting it up. The redhead claims everyone is making great progress, but seriously, look at that absolute villain face. This guy mentions bonuses with a totally sinister vibe. Cut to the next day, Nishi's crew is breaking their backs doing the hard labor, while lazy veterans just stand around laughing, acting like they own the street. The contrast is absolutely wild between the guys working their asses off and those just watching. Rumor has it that missing out on bonuses means getting sent to the keepers. Rikuto instantly senses this whole vibe is way too weird for comfort. But here's the craziest part. Even with all these rotten scumbags crammed together, order somehow survives. 0 fights break out, and everyone actually gets equal food rations. To Rikuto, this setup might seem like paradise for some, but he cannot shake that bad feeling about Ginkgo. Watch closely because the peace shatters here. A scream hits, and they find an upperclassman harassing a girl. Our boy realizes this garbage happens constantly. Nishi flags him down to intervene, and Rikuto does not hesitate. He steps right up, demanding they let the girl go. The masked freak tries playing tough, but our guy locks in with a stare so incredibly dark that the bully literally chokes on his aura. The other scumbag screams at them to stop acting so cocky just because of some bonuses. Right on cue, Yoneda steps in, ordering them to keep the peace. He apologizes to the girl, flashing this totally fake, creepy little smile. She just shakes in pure terror. The upperclassman grabs his lackey and leaves, mocking that everyone will soon bow down to Hizaki's so-called order. Rikuto has absolutely no clue what they are even saying. But the second he reaches out to help her, she screams in sheer terror. Boom, out of nowhere, this old man shoves our hero back. He shields his daughter while she frantically tries to explain, but the dad just spits that our boy is trash like the rest. Rikuto asks if this guy is actually her dad, then bluntly fires back that he should have been the one protecting her in the first place. The old man stammers in absolute rage, but Sana quickly grabs him. She begs him to stop saying she is okay, while her dad just hugs her crying apologies. Nishi warns our guy to back off, but the fear in the air is heavy. Look at this guy by the fire. He is literally having a mental breakdown, absolutely terrified that he is next on the chopping block to become a keeper. Suddenly, Kotan drops by with a plate of food asking if he is okay, while dropping that perfect angelic smile. The dude turns bright red, awkwardly stammering that he is fine. Meanwhile, our girl casually drops that she is working kitchen duty now. He asks if she is seriously a cook now, and she happily confirms it. Sakura runs up screaming that Rikuto's crew is finally back. But hold on, check out the insane way this lunatic is eyeing Kotan from behind. This guy is fully unhinged, just drooling, plotting something incredibly twisted, acting like his time in this camp is rapidly ticking away. I know what you're thinking. Nishi says it straight. Something seriously messed up is happening in this weird place. He's already debating if they should just make a run for it, guessing that all this madness links right back to those boss bonuses. Rikuto asks Fuyuse what kind of crazy cult they are in, but she just freezes. Suddenly, Sakura and Kotan arrive, holding all the food. The archer gets totally hyped for dinner, but Fuyuse, she goes into absolute jaw-dropping shock. She demands to know why they are playing waitress. Sakura calmly explains that Hizaki moved them to the kitchen just to protect Kotan's injured leg from hard labor. The blonde guy even claimed that digging huge holes wasn't work meant for girls. Fuyuse is practically foaming with hatred for Hizaki. She bolts, leaving the crew in the dust even as Nishi shouts for her to wait. No chance, she's too fired up. She's desperate to uncover his real plan and absolutely determined to force him into canceling that transfer immediately. But right halfway there, she hears laughter and just freezes. Over in another room, Ijima calls Hizaki out, saying he's rotten for hiding the truth from everyone. The redhead shushes him, but the blonde knows dinner time means 0 interruptions. Hizaki drops the bomb. Their real plan is just to detach the rear cars off the train. Since the master key conveniently vanished, he explains they'll have to mess with the wiring instead. But boom, he casually pulls the missing key right from his pocket, laughing like a maniac. He claims he wants a beautiful system of mutual help. Smash Ginkgo kicks the door wide open, bursting into the room, but what she hears leaves her completely stunned. She screams, demanding why they are living like animals down in this hole. While that redhead flashes a mocking smile, she screams for answers. So, what do you and I make of this madness? Hizaki just signals Ijima to chill out. You and I are jumping right back into the madness as he drops a black box down. Hizaki starts spilling some philosophical garbage. He claims some total idiot opened Pandora's box and flooded the world with pure despair. But allegedly Hope stayed trapped at the bottom. The guy finishes his little story with the most painfully cynical attitude ever. Fuyuse is completely lost. But then Hizaki drops the real bombshell. That thing left at the bottom. It was never actually Hope. He says people only cling to hope because they are totally blind to reality. He flat out calls Amashima City the real Pandora's box. To him, their little base is the only safe haven left. Everyone else, just digging their own graves while chasing fake miracles. The scarred guy just bursts out laughing, calling the redhead completely shameless. But Hizaki could not care less. He absolutely loves his life right now. They have food, shelter, and even some pretty twisted entertainment. Meanwhile, poor Ginkgo is just standing there, absolutely dripping in a cold sweat. Hizaki totally ignores her panic. He asks if she will keep working for them, even offering to set up some special perks just for her. She thinks about her friends and pure despair kicks in. He holds out his hand, waiting for her final answer. Suddenly, a terrifying monster shriek cuts off their chat, leaving the poor girl absolutely frozen. Now watch closely. A massive worm violently crashes through the wall. Total panic erupts, and you and I are about to see bugs swarming everywhere. It is absolute chaos, and one unlucky guy gets brutally impaled instantly. Our main character arrives just in time, smashing an iron pipe right onto the beast. Nishi isn't slacking off either. He readies his bow, screaming about where these freaks even came from. Rikuto figures out the horrible truth. Baby wyverns mean baby worms exist too. Sana desperately tries fleeing this messed up ecosystem. Kaiten screams at her to dodge. The insane sounds of destruction quickly reach the corrupt bosses. Ginkgo is completely paralyzed by the screaming, before finally sprinting away. Ajima tries escaping too, but the redhead casually blocks his path. He says she is nothing but dead weight now. Flashing a totally psychotic smile, he literally orders the guy to murder her. Ajima calls him a complete psychopath, and they both crack up laughing. He is just annoyed he will not get to see Ginkgo cry. Hizaki shrugs it off completely, leaving the dirty hit job to him. Back in the tunnels, giant worms are terrorizing everyone. One is literally seconds away from grabbing Sana. Boom! Someone flies in with a brutal kick. Goko lands a flawless punch right on the monster, then mercilessly slices the horrible worm into pieces. Sana is totally frozen in shock. The girl faces the deadly horde yelling at her to run straight for the safe central gate. Goko orders Sana off the train tracks immediately, screaming at her to escape before it is too late. Sana runs away, crying out her thanks. Meanwhile, our platinum-haired badass grips her knife and stays behind to fight. But the monstrous worms just keep spawning. She suddenly realizes her fatal mistake light does not scare these freaks. Over with Nishi's squad, they are struggling hard to avoid becoming Monster Chow. He loudly complains about having zero peace in this apocalypse. Suddenly, Ajima steps in, casually crushing a worm's skull. Hizaki follows right behind, demanding a quick status update. Just weak bugs, Ajima brags. But Hizaki ignores him, fully focused on dividing up the ruined station. I know what you and I are thinking, surely he will help the screaming south side. Nope. The redhead completely abandons them, leaving Rikuto stunned. Nishi questions his sanity, but the guy insists he is only acting purely rational. His brilliant plan, only save useful people like hunters and cooks. The old and wounded are dead weight, so they get left behind. Absolutely horrifying. Flashing that disgustingly cynical smile, he claims it is all for keeping order. Rikuto refuses to listen immediately, sprinting down the dark tunnel. Nishi shouts that he is right behind him. The path is totally infested with spawning worms. The archer yells at our boy to stay alive until he catches up to him. Hiding Ginkgo watches our hero charging straight into the south sector. Just look at the absolute hell that area has become. Civilians are getting snatched from every direction. Sana desperately drags her injured dad, but the monsters brutally knock them right onto the floor. Her father hits his absolute limit, begging his beloved daughter to run away and survive. A massive worm leaps right at them, but Ruto charges in at top speed, slamming his metal pipe directly into its ugly face. Unstoppable. He orders them to escape while he holds the line. But the injured old man is confused why risk everything to save weak strangers. He cries that they are useless burdens, so abandoning them was just the natural survival choice. But Ruto shuts that down fast. That is pure animal logic. He says they are still human, and helping each other is the bare minimum. You and I know that won't last. Suddenly, the whole ground shakes and cracks wide open. Alright, stick with me here. Our boy looks back in pure panic, seeing Fuyus running and screaming about a total collapse. But the solid asphalt just vanishes, swallowing our main character halfway down. He plummets toward the bottom floor, while Ginkgo desperately tries reaching his hand. Ruto is absolutely shaken by the massive crater. Fuyus grabs his hand tight, explaining that those giant worms completely ate away the foundation of this place. She tries pulling him up, but quickly realizes the ground is way too unstable to hold his weight alone. Panicking, she begs the two survivors for help. Right on cue, a third guy steps up offering help. But instead of helping, that total bastard delivers a brutal flying kick straight into the girl's back. He claims his foot slipped as both of them drop into the dark abyss. I mean, just look at the psychotic grin on this lunatic. Sana's dad is completely stunned trying to process what this literal executioner is doing here. The guy fakes looking sad, asking if it isn't just a terrible shame. He violently squares up to the survivors, and Sana's cowardly father instantly folds. That coward runs off to report the quote-unquote accident, leaving them stranded on the floor. Meanwhile, the whole tunnel keeps collapsing with massive rocks crushing everything. This place is a literal death trap now. Nishi completely panics, screaming for our boy. Suddenly, the ceiling starts violently cracking apart. The archer totally freezes, watching the structure fail. Heavy rocks rain down on their heads, forcing the guys to curl up defensively. The entire tunnel caves in because those giant worms completely wrecked the supports. Back at the main base, Kotone hears the terrible news. The blonde confirms Hizaki reported an accident. Check out that sneaky little smirk on that red-headed bastard in the back. What an absolute piece of garbage. Kotone instantly drops to her knees in despair, while her friend swears our boy wouldn't die like that. Now watch closely because here is where it gets crazy. The curtain rips open, letting these absolute weirdos storm inside. Sakura tries fighting back, but that four-eyed brat just laughs. Total chaos erupts, mixed with desperate cries for help. In a matter of seconds, both girls are tied up and gagged on the floor. That creepy nerd yanks Kotone by her hair, claiming that since the world is ending, they should have some fun. And this absolute trash starts by violently tearing the poor girl's blouse. Holy smokes, just look at the massive talent in that neckline. The guy completely loses his mind. Not wasting a second, the chubby dude starts ripping Sakura's shirt too. Looks like this guy is desperately trying to join the milk village. These scumbags are totally lost in their own twisted madness, leaving Kotone desperately screaming Ruto's name. The nerd tells her to behave, literally looking like a guy who has never touched a woman. They seriously think the apocalypse gives them a free pass. This brat is completely out of his mind. He is practically licking the poor girl already. Absolutely disgusting. But boom, a loud gunshot kills the mood. The brat freezes, seeing who's at the door. Hizaki calmly asks what is happening, stepping over the chubby guy who now has a smoking bullet hole right between his eyes. You and I both know that look. Flashing his creepy smile, he claims he totally understands why people lose their minds when order vanishes. The pathetic nerd swears it was just a minor moment of weakness, but he is practically having a full mental breakdown, terrified and crawling across the floor. Hizaki shoves the gun barrel right against his skull, yet this bastard actually argues that as cooks they deserve to feel good. Just completely unacceptable. Hizaki coldly explains that absolute order is required to stay human. He calls the brat a pathetic fool, then blows his brains out without a single blink. Blood literally splatters all over the screen. Nasty wild animals have no place in his community. Both girls are left completely shell-shocked watching a point-blank execution. The psycho actually apologizes for the mess as his other armed men enter the tent. He claims the community's order got shaken and requires a quick fix. His solution? Offering the girls as a reward to Ijima and the veteran guards. Just look at that disgusting smirk. Hizaki stands there with a psycho smile, calmly asking if the girls are going to cooperate the easy way. But guess what? Our main guy is extremely busy down below in the crushed rubble. Against all odds, he and Ginkgo survived the drop. But they landed straight into a complete mess. Oh gross, that is sickening. The MC asks if she actually knows the way out, and she reveals she perfectly memorized every map of this zone. Riku swears he will make them pay in blood for kicking them down there. Finally, the girl comes completely clean about the dark secrets running that quote-unquote community. Riku tells her to push forward while Sana's dad cries, apologizing for his cowardice. That guy totally freezes when our MC shows up breathing. He cannot believe he survived the deadly abyss. But Riku ignores the cheap talk. He marches straight into the main sector, where absolute savagery is happening. Seriously, look at the face on this creep licking the girl. Pure chaos with cowards screaming until Kotone and Sakura ask if he's their rescue. So, what do you and I think? For top-tier rewards like these, I'd crawl back from hell too. Stick with me here, we are jumping right into the chaos. Hizaki flashes this smug little smile seeing Ruto survived. Our main character isn't having it. He asks if this nightmare is order and tells him to go straight to hell. The redhead just chuckles. He actually has the nerve to say the kid is too young to appreciate his perfect system. Ruto aims his metal pipe dead at the villain, while Hizaki starts giving some philosophical lecture about human nature. To him, the answer is total control. Right on cue, his goons leap in and pin our guy to the dirt. Ijima stands there laughing at the trapped kid, while the other veterans whisper how dangerous Ruto is for basically dodging a bullet. But they have an insurance policy holding Keitan and Sakura hostage. Honestly, with crazy reflexes like that, I would not blink around this kid either. Hizaki gets right up in his personal space, grabs his face and preaches about building a utopia for real humans. He praises the kid's crazy speed and actually offers him a job. But our boy just gives a sarcastic laugh, completely exposing this so-called perfect order as a total scam. While the girls watch completely horrified, he looks Hizaki dead in the eye and calls him a monster. Well, the villain hated that. He immediately kicks our guy right in the face to teach him some twisted respect. Of course, the other spineless thugs use the chance to stomp on the helpless kid. Seeing this, Katan and Sakura absolutely panic, and right at that moment, Ginkgo and that totally useless teacher show up. The redhead smirks at his growing audience. Ginkgo completely freezes when she sees Ruto beaten down. Flashing a creepy smile, Hizaki claims this is all for peace. Then he announces our boy is up next for the main event. Now watch closely because this is where the story gets absolutely wild. Ruto is pushed right to the edge just as a colossal monster worm bursts from the deep abyss. Total chaos. Hizaki casually mentions that this ugly beast will not stop until it eats something. Game over for talking. The girls scream in pure horror seeing the kid lined up as monster snacks. Ginkgo snaps, begging Ruto to just give up. She even offers to be a slave to save him, but he ignores it. He turns his back on her, saying he refuses that deal. Ginkgo asks if he wants to die, and honestly, he admits he's terrified. But while everyone stares in complete shock, he remembers his ultimate goal to live on his own terms. The kid stares down the massive beast, declaring he will crush it. Ginkgo thinks he lost his mind, but look at his face. Zero hesitation. He seriously stopped caring about the odds. Meanwhile, the girls in the back are just sobbing uncontrollably. Yonita gets totally annoyed by the hero speech. He swings his club right at him, telling the kid to shut up. Yuma literally does not see it coming. Ginkgo flies in and lands an absolute cannon of a kick to his face. The jerk goes flying straight into the giant worm's jaws. Talk about massive critical damage. You and I both felt that impact, right? Our boy looks back confused, while Ginkgo finally stops running away. She steps up to fight by his side. Ruto even calls her a total idiot for it, but the mob is already charging in for revenge. And Hizaki coldly declares that rule breakers are getting erased from his perfect little town. No time to waste. Ruto swings hard to clear the mob, while Ginkgo slices through these guys with zero mercy and perfect timing. The extras are completely stunned, wondering if these kids are actually monsters. Then Ijima laughs like a maniac and orders his cowards to keep moving. He loudly reminds them they have an army, and these two crazy kids are going to run out of gas eventually. One big thug finds an opening. He smashes our guy with a heavy hit, knocking him off balance while Ginkgo screams in panic. Another enemy drops right on her, mocking her for looking away. But she immediately lands a brutal counter that knocks him completely out cold. The main villain is just hyping up his army now, demanding they finish the job. They are completely surrounded. And worse, our dynamic duo is clearly running on empty here. Hizaki watches from safety, casually reloading his weapon with this twisted grin. He loves the violence. Katan and Sakura are crying, completely losing hope, seeing our hero so battered. Sana's dad and the rest of the captive crowd just stare back with the dead eyes of people who surrendered. They literally cannot understand why the main character and Ginkgo keep fighting while everyone else just surrendered. Even dripping with blood, Ruto flat out says throwing punches is the only way he feels truly alive. And that single raw sentence hits the silent crowd like an absolute truck. Blood sprays into the air, and suddenly someone screams at the top of their lungs. The bald enemy and Ijima finally manage to take Ginkgo down. Hizaki casually tells Ruto the outcome was locked from minute 1. The poor kid is completely running on empty. The tied-up girls can only watch. You and I need to see what's next. Alright, you and I are jumping right into the chaos. The blonde guy yells to finish the main character, but Ginkgo just screams Rikuto's name. The enforcer just sneers, pressing that nasty nail bat right against her neck. He calls her their brand new toy, which makes my stomach turn. The big guy pins her arms down and the psycho gets ready to torture our girl. But everything flips when a random club comes flying out of nowhere. Ijima cannot even finish laughing before he takes a massive smack to his head. The dude glitches out, completely bleeding and trying to see who threw it before collapsing hard. The big guy freezes up in total shock, still holding Ginkgo. Even Rikuto is completely confused here. Just look at Sana's father. The guy finally found the guts to fight for himself. He tells them all to go to hell, and the other survivors charge right behind him, raging. It is pure, absolute chaos with blood flying everywhere. The riot is officially on, and these veterans are getting an absolute beatdown. Sana's dad begs for forgiveness for waiting so long. The old man goes berserk, crushing those punks without mercy, screaming that he should have fought way sooner. But from now on, he will protect Sana forever. Even the girls are completely done being victims, literally smashing bricks right into the faces of the veterans. Ginkgo is totally speechless. The women she protected are apologizing, admitting they knew she was risking her life for them, but their fear of Ajima was just too strong. Then Sana's dad rallies everyone, yelling that their miserable hostage life is officially over. They are taking their pride back and finally living. It is an entire horde of furious people charging, and the hunters never saw it coming. The veterans scramble in pure panic, falling straight down into the massive hole the worms made. While his gang gets trashed, Hizaki stands there completely calm, holding his gun. The hostages are useless. He locks onto one target, Kurogane Rikuto. To this psycho, if the leader dies, the rebellion ends. Watch closely here. With that sick villain grin, he raises his pistol, aiming to end our boy. Ginkgo realizes exactly what he is planning and completely panics. She screams out a warning immediately. Rikuto feels the deadly threat approaching, while Ginkgo screams at him to watch the gun. He senses the absolute danger as she desperately yells, "It is way too late." Hizaki delivers his final goodbye, pulling the trigger. Our girl tries to do the impossible, but she will never make it. The gunshot echoes, blood splatters, and she completely freezes. She thinks our main character is dead, but Rikuto is still standing strong with just a tiny scratch. The villain is the one screaming, his hand perfectly pierced by an arrow. Nishi steps from the shadows. Nishi makes it super clear he chose Rikuto's side, and the girls practically cry with joy, seeing heavy backup finally arrive. Taishi is here cleaning house too, and Isaac shows up, dropping the veterans without a single drop of mercy. He sprints over to free them both. Afterward, he explains that he saved the group during the collapse, but they had to tank some wild wyverns just to reach the subway. He asks for the next move, and the main character says to wipe out Hizaki's entire gang forever. The archer agrees right away, while Taishi just keeps handing out beatdowns. This is the epic moment the extras finally find their courage, rushing in to attack the broken veterans. While the gang completely panics, Hizaki knows he has lost. He decides to sneak away, leaving his lackey totally confused. He sprints off, remembering that the only thing that actually matters is the train key. The psycho still sneers, wondering if Rikuto is behind this too. Ginkgo screams for the main character to grab the key, but Nishi cannot shoot through the massive crowd. I know you and I are sweating right now, as everyone just stands there absolutely terrified. Man, just look at how insanely powerful those two are. While Taishi keeps crushing the veterans, Hizaki asks if the protagonist seriously thinks he can solo him alone. The guy brags that an injured hand means nothing, but the main character promises victory. This intense one-on-one starts with Rikuto facing the gun. Our boy charges forward with absolutely everything, ignoring the deadly risk to close the gap. The villain fires his weapon without hesitating, and the bullet barely misses the kid's head. Hizaki keeps that arrogant smirk and speaks up. A gun is not terrifying once you understand how it functions. Rikuto focuses entirely on the pistol barrel, predicting the villain's every single move through its shiny reflection. He thinks the path is obvious, but the psycho reveals the first shots were just to study him. Like a chess game where he already saw the finish line, he prepares checkmate, aiming exactly where the kid's heart will be. Hizaki pulls the trigger and declares checkmate with a grin. So what do you and I think happens next? Stick with me, the shot lands perfectly. Ginkgo falls into pure despair, screaming his name. But Rikuto refuses to drop. He pushes forward with his iron pipe, ready for payback. The villain is totally baffled. How is our guy still standing? Boom, our boy reveals he literally used a concrete chunk to tank the bullet. He casually asks if Hizaki aimed for his heart, then swings that pipe down with absolute maximum force to end this chat. The impact is absolutely devastating. The master key flies from his pocket, and this scumbag is sent plunging straight into the abyss. Game over. Rikuto declares he is totally finished, and Ginkgo is actually blushing at the insane boss aura our boy is radiating right now. Falling into the void, Hizaki remembers his father claiming that strict order separates men from beasts. The old man insisted that without rules, people are just animals, and laws exist to keep that balance. Back in his past, his mother bawls her eyes out, but little Hizaki already has that creepy dead fish stare. He learns rule breakers are pure evil. Cut to school where some blonde bully is actively humiliating every single kid. The teacher steps in, but the kid is a rich heir. He threatens to ruin the guy's life, then literally throws a punch. Everyone totally freezes, while little Hizaki just watches silently. But everything flips that night. Someone screams in brutal pain, shouting that whatever Hizaki is doing is completely twisted. Now falling to his doom, he just laughs like a maniac. In his mind, he drops that classic villain speech, calling Rikuto a mere animal wearing human skin. But just look at the perfect irony. Don't blink, because here is the twist. He becomes literal beast food, swallowed alive by the worm. Our boy stares into the dead silence while those bootlickers go into total shock. The Uprising completely wipes out the remaining veterans. Mid-chaos, Ginkgo snatches up that master key, absolutely stunned by their luck. She looks at Rikuto. Totally exhausted, but finally truly free. Ginkgo insists none of this was his fault. Our boy replies straight up that he is fine, deciding to live until the very end. Turning tomato red, she calls him incredibly strong. She even tells him he can come vent to her whenever he needs a shoulder. But this wholesome vibe instantly shatters at the hole's edge. That massive worm has vanished entirely, leaving behind nothing but a nasty pile of skeletons. Ginkgo is super confused because these underground freaks are not supposed to move in the light. Good lord, just look at how stacked Kanan is, even wearing that hilariously oversized vest. She thanks Taishi for the clothes, and Sakura blushes hard, thanking the blonde guy. But then, the entire ground violently shakes. Nishi goes completely pale, fearing another collapse. Suddenly, that missing monster violently bursts right up from the dirt. Kanan's group is totally speechless, staring at that terrifying purple mouth packed with teeth. It is in the light. Look at the size of that crazy maw. I know what you are thinking. Game over, right? The beast roars. Sakura freezes because it brought an entire litter of hungry, creepy babies. The monster is completely on the loose already, making an absolute meal out of everyone in sight. A girl tries running as the giant worm dives back underground. Nishi and Ginkgo are panicking, but Sakura drops a terrifying theory it might actually be breeding season. Even the bright light cannot hold these nasty things back anymore. The archer practically begs the MC for a plan. Ginkgo suddenly remembers the train is their escape route since Hizaki confirmed it was working. Rikuto cuts the chatter instantly. He orders everyone to move out right now since those tracks to Amashima are finally crystal clear. Nishi organizes the chaos, yelling for everyone to sprint to the train before the beast catches them for good. The survivors cannot believe they are finally escaping this crazy cult. They take off sprinting for their lives right through the middle of the chaos. Sana helps her dad walk. Everyone steps up carrying each other, so absolutely nobody gets left behind. Even those cowardly veterans start begging for rescue. Meanwhile, that scumbag is left sprawled out, finally choking on his own medicine. An extra calls him trash, but another argues, leaving him makes them just as evil. Smiling like a psycho, the guy swears he will absolutely regain control of everything. Little does he know dinner just arrived. That giant worm pops up right in his face. The idiot actually says it is too late to save the worm. Just look at this trash. He treated women like actual animals. He used to literally kick poor victims straight to the monster, high-fiving his buddies like it was a national holiday. Look at the size of that maw. The worm creeps right up, drooling everywhere as he desperately screams for anyone to come save his life. Way too late. The monster bites down brutally hard, ripping his arm completely clean off. While this villain becomes a midnight snack, the group violently crowds the platform. Ginkgo shouts that the inside of the train is actually safe. Nishi screams for everyone to board fast. A guy tries holding the line using brass knuckles until our boy rushes in, completely slicing up whatever appears in his way. So, what do you and I take from this? Survival means making tough choices. A boy asks about the buried cars, and Ginkgo says they must cut those cables and abandon them. Alright, you and I are diving right into pure survival mode. Ginkgo yanks that separation lever with everything she's got. Nishi screams for her to jump inside immediately. The survivors in that car, absolutely traumatized and battered. Our girl dashes straight for the driver cabin. They need an escape route, but Kotone panics. The key does absolutely nothing. Ginkgo freezes up. If the power dies now, it is game over. Sakura does not waste a single second. She rips off the panel, hunting for the wiring issue. Total sabotage. Someone cut these wires on purpose, and Ginkgo curses that absolute garbage human Hizaki. But Sakura stays completely unfazed. She smirks, promising she can fix this entire mess in a flash. The others just wait sweating. Meanwhile, on the platform, Riko's group fights off the worm swarm. Trapped in total darkness, the train just sits there. Finally, Sakura nails it. She yells at Kotone to start the engine. The lights flicker back on, everyone is completely stunned, and our genius mechanic definitely takes a second to brag. Sakura looks over at the boy, and the mood suddenly gets incredibly awkward. She starts panicking hard, yelling that fixing wires is easy, but actually driving a train, absolutely not her thing. Out of nowhere, the teacher steps up, claiming he knows the system. But that relief vanishes fast when a giant drooling worm blocks their path. Nishi and Riko are hitting their absolute limit. These relentless pests just keep popping up everywhere. Watch closely because you and I know this gets worse. A massive beast erupts. Nishi desperately asks Riko for a plan. And right behind them, the dead train finally roars back to life. The engine kicks in. The trio runs for their lives, while that giant worm almost swallows them in one bite. They hit the door. The girls yank the guys inside with crazy strength. They survived. The train blasts into the tunnel, leaving monsters behind. That massive beast is left stranded outside, screaming in pure rage over losing its dinner. Riko checks on the crew. Nishi confirms that even the heavily injured people manage to board. Sana's dad takes the wheel and everyone finally breathes. Sakura immediately tackles Kotone with a huge hug, screaming that they did it. Even Nishi is totally hyped. Believing the worst is over, everyone starts happily congratulating each other. But of course, peace never lasts here. The entire train suddenly starts shaking violently. A girl comes sprinting in screaming a warning. She points back a massive black spike just smashed right through the floorboards. That giant worm breached the floor. It is literally crushing the train car like it is a cheap tin can. Absolute panic. A mouthful of razor teeth lunges at them. Everyone freezes in terror while he warns the train will derail. Nishi is absolutely losing his mind. But Riko, he grabs his iron pipe and charges straight toward the danger. You and I know she won't hesitate. She follows him screaming for everyone to run to the next car. Riko sprints to save a random extra right before the giant worm turns him into a snack. The kid launches himself, jamming his iron pipe deep down the monster's throat. He yells for the guy to run, struggling against the thrashing beast. Just look at the size of those claws. Our main character holds his ground, the bending pipe, fighting insane weight. The crowd watches Riko in total shock, while he desperately screams at them to uncouple the car. The kid is completely focused. He swears he will hold it back. They hesitate, terrified of leaving him. But Ginkgo sprints to the lock, yanking on the iron release bar with all her might. But it is completely rusted shut. Taishi jumps in, putting in a monstrous physical effort to break it loose. The blonde kid shouts he will help too, and Ginkgo sees backup finally arriving. Riko is in deep trouble. The space is too tight to dodge, and a heavy attack nearly sends him flying. Now the whole squad is united. Taishi and Sakura pull the lever with an absolutely ridiculous amount of force. The pin finally snaps. Everyone cheers as the lock drops and the train cars start pulling apart. Nishi screams for Riko to jump, but those massive claws have already slashed our boy's leg open. The archer watches helplessly from afar as the worm opens that massive, terrifying mouth of razor teeth. Our protagonist tries backing away. Kotoni panics, seeing Riku cornered and dragged deeper inside. But he grips that bent pipe with everything he has left. He refuses to give up. He lunges back in, ready to slice this worm to pieces. Suddenly, Genko tears through the chaos. She buries her knife into the monster with absolute fury. Riku is stunned, she returned. She grabs his shoulder. They are going to Amashima together. Trust me, you and I need the next chapter. Stick with me here. You and I are about to witness the craziest leap of faith while Nishi and the blonde kid watch sweating bullets. Rikuto tells her to jump first, but she just calls him a total idiot. She tells him to step back, asking for his trust one last time. Our main character just smirks like a guy with a master plan. Ginkgo says she trusts him completely right as that giant monster nearly swallows them whole. They dive straight into that insane leap of faith. Nishi reaches his arm out from the moving train, but absolute panic hits when everyone sees that massive gap. Making things worse, the track suddenly curves. They are heading straight into a solid wall. Boom. They slam hard against the tunnel wall. But Rikuto screams not to underestimate him, literally sprinting along the wall to reach the train car. Our guy is literally wall running like Spider-Man while Nishi screams that he won't make it. Mid-jump, our hero actually thanks Ginkgo for believing in his crazy plan. Using an iron pipe, he launches himself off the wall, reaching out his hand toward Nishi with every single ounce of strength he has left. The train keeps blasting toward the exit. Meanwhile, that massive worm lets out one final furious roar, getting left completely behind in the pitch-black tunnel. They actually made it. Finally, a literal light at the end of the tunnel. Breaking free from that cursed darkness, pure silence floods the train car. Nishi is totally drained, just sitting there, dripping in a cold sweat. Everyone is sprawled across the floor, desperately trying to process the fact they are alive. Even our main guy admits he cannot believe they survived that. Kotone gets super emotional, seeing everyone safe, while the rest of the group finally lets out a massive sigh of relief. Our boy sincerely thanks Ginkgo for jumping back in. She keeps it totally real, saying she was just returning the favor he did for her. Watch closely now. You and I can see their vibe completely changed. Ginkgo remembers how after her mom passed away, she totally gave up on this world. She genuinely thought everything was just complete garbage. Rikuto casually asks if she changed her mind, and she gets super flustered. She yells that it is not that bad, basically dying of pure embarrassment. Our protagonist boldly declares they will survive no matter what. Just look around, everyone is so incredibly happy, knowing they actually have a fighting chance. Holding out his fist, he smiles and says it is great to be alive. Ginkgo instantly turns tomato red at that incredibly cheesy line. Ultimately, though, she accepts the fist bump, calling him an idiot. The train keeps rolling forward, heading straight for the FN court building, where this nightmare began. Finally arriving in Amashima City, Nishi and Rikuto joke about how incredibly long that trip felt. Kotone and the rest completely agree, admitting that the entire crazy ordeal was way too intense. The car is packed with survivors who just escaped pure hell. But Ginkgo, she is completely focused on the pendant holding her mother's dark secret. Rikuto walks over to back her up, reminding her she is never alone. Our silver-haired girl turns bright red again, blurting out that he is being way too bold. Meanwhile, Kotone quietly watches their little moment, getting that sinking feeling that her place in our hero's life is slowly slipping away. Suddenly, the wheels screech against the rails. The violent jolt throws Ginkgo and Rikuto forward, sending everyone crashing to the floor in shock, while sparks fly everywhere. In that moment, the silver-haired girl remembers her mom's hospital words. That SD card holds the absolute truth and the only hope to save this world. Trying to hide her face so nobody sees how completely shaken she is, she stares out the window, totally locked in on their big mission. The train is flying at top speed when it suddenly slams on the brakes. Naturally, Sana's dad and the rest of the passengers absolutely panic. Sana's dad rushes into the car, apologizing for the massive scare. He quickly explains that their path forward is totally blocked. Look closely. You and I both know those twisted rails were ripped by something insane. The old man warns everyone they have to travel on foot. Rikuto instantly checks his GPS, noticing it is only a quick 8-minute walk from here. Nishi feels super uneasy about what might be lurking out there. He decides to put together a 5-person strike team to scout ahead. Poor Sakura is absolutely shocked to be picked for the squad. Meanwhile, Sana's dad tries playing hero, offering to go along just to protect the kids. But Nishi immediately shuts that idea down, telling the old man to stay put. He explains that guarding the train passengers is just as crucial as their scouting mission. The old guy totally gets the message, and our squad finally leaves the tracks behind. So now our elite team is sneaking through the city. Sakura naturally is already complaining about getting a nervous stomachache from all this stress. Stepping into pitch-black darkness, they find nothing but ruined buildings and a heavy, creepy silence. Rikuto mutters that even the big city couldn't escape this absolute carnage. Ginkgo goes into full alert mode while the blonde kid is practically shaking in terror. Nishi wonders where the heck everyone disappeared to. Suddenly, Rikuto completely freezes up when he spots a strange light glowing inside a building. The archer and the blonde kid cheer, totally thinking they finally found other survivors. The kid immediately tries sprinting over, happily shouting for his seniors. But Ginkgo and Rikuto aren't stupid. Our boy instantly senses something is horribly wrong here. Those two are left totally confused, while our main character notices a whole swarm of things rapidly rushing straight toward their position. Surrounded in the alley, the blonde kid panics blind. That's where we leave it. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to watch things get incredibly ugly. The team is completely surrounded by hooded creeps in the alley. The blonde kid, practically having a full-blown heart attack, freaking out trying to figure out what the heck these things actually are. Just these totally bizarre shadow monsters with 0 faces. Ginkgo instantly whips out her knife, fully ready to kill, while Taiga readies his brass knuckles. Nishi knocks an arrow, but boom, some absolute lunatic in a red jacket comes flying out of nowhere, terrorizing the group and sending our main character flying. Rikuto is totally stunned by that insane strength. Then a girl pops up on the rooftop holding a crossbow, ordering the attacker to fall back. Red jacket guy completely ignores her, just starts casually picking his ear, while Akane aims her crossbow right at him with a dead serious glare. He just gives this mocking little laugh, asks if she wants a death match, since in his twisted mind only the strongest survive anyway. Nodding along those creepy hooded figures, just take the scolding silently. Rikuto and the gang just watch this clash, completely, utterly confused. The attacker calls them literal trash, says they aren't worth the effort, and finally decides to retreat for today, vanishing into the city buildings. Akane lets out a sigh of relief once they leave, but then she shoots our group a look that is far from friendly. She tosses a hook and rappels down. Nishi and the kids start celebrating, thinking they are totally saved. But pay attention here, because this is wild. Our archer tries to politely thank her, but she completely ignores him and instantly jams her crossbow right under Nishi's chin. The entire group completely freezes up. She drops his full name and bluntly says, "The world is unfair because scum like him always survive." She is practically foaming with absolute rage, telling Yamaoka to rot. The boy just lowers his head, admitting she has every right to be furious. Then Akane drops the massive bombshell. He killed her brother. The rest of the crew is just completely stunned. Yamaoka doesn't even try explaining himself. He just tells her to finish the job right now if it brings her peace. Right as she's about to fire, Rikuto steps in and calmly grabs the crossbow. He says the kid is with them. Her henchmen try calming her down, while Fuyuko walks up, putting a hand on Rikuto's shoulder to calm him too. Surprisingly, Akane actually decides to cut them some slack, inviting everyone back to her hideout. Nishi looks super uneasy. He asks if they can seriously trust her after the Hisaki incident, but Rikuto decides to take the massive risk. They accept the invite and head out, eventually arriving at this massive, ruined shopping center area. Akane is honestly shocked that so many people actually survived under that "here you guys" brutal rule. Kotone and Sakura instantly start buddying up with Akane. She explains folks here actually help each other. Nishi does the math on the factions and realizes Sector 1 is the moderate group. But then you have the Predators gang in red, totally ruthless scavengers who care about absolutely nobody. Rikuto says this vibe reminds him of the old community, noting the moderates only survive thanks to sheer numbers. Basically, they live in a forced truce. Sakura is already panicking about how bad things actually are. But Akane points to a giant tower dominating the skyline, saying Sector 2 isn't even their biggest problem. The ruling class faction up there, they are truly in charge, controlling all the city's water and food. Suddenly, one of the helmet guys comes sprinting up in total panic, screaming that things have gone horribly wrong. Hearing the elite just showed up for a resource hunt, Akane immediately gets her crossbow ready for action. A desperate scream completely shatters the silence as people scatter in pure panic. These smug guys in suits show up ordering their monsters to start the capture. Honestly, if we were staring down a giant spider like that, we'd probably accept our fate instantly. Harpies fly off carrying survivors while demons shove people into trucks. Suit guy literally says no one can die because humans are now just valuable resources. Nishi is completely shocked. Humans actually using literal monsters to hunt down other people. Sakura and Kotone are absolutely horrified by this cruelty. Akane explains they drag people straight to a containment facility. Rikuto asks what is happening and instantly dives right out the window. Fuyuko grabs his arm since down below creatures are already rounding everyone up. She begs him not to be reckless, but he insists nobody is dying today. Taking a deep breath, Rikuto apologizes for losing his cool. Akane says they need to run, ordering everyone to get out and telling the group to find shelter. Akane gets straight to business, asking the trio if they will stand guard so the innocent civilians can run to safety. Nishi agrees instantly, while Taiga just watches with crossed arms. She signals everyone to do whatever it takes, and the frantic scramble begins. Enforcers guide the crowd, while Rikuto is up front smashing goblins with a pipe. Trust me, you're definitely going to want to see how this crazy fight ends. These monsters just keep coming. Stick with me here. Nishi runs up, saying, the evacuation worked, but this incoming main horde, absolute nightmare fuel. He panics, saying there is zero chance they hold them back. Akane screams for a full retreat, but our archer completely freezes. Why? Because he hears a very familiar voice. He remembers Tuka right as he spots a massive ogre grabbing her while she screams for help. Nishi goes into utter shock, screaming her name while Rikuto is completely confused. Losing his mind, Nishi sprints off like an absolute madman, shouting for his sister. Rikuto yells at him for breaking the line he just ordered held. Nishi just tells the main character to shut up, leaving everyone completely stunned. He drops the truth she is his adopted sister, and blood or not, he is never abandoning her. This kid completely ignores the suicide mission, diving into the horde and swearing to save her. Just his luck, he ends up face to face with a red-eyed minotaur. Not gonna lie, I would have passed out. Now watch closely. He realizes he messed up and accepts his death. But right as the beast attacks, a massive flash blinds everyone. Out of nowhere, blood sprays everywhere, splashing the ground right in front of him. Takeshi drops in to save the day, absolutely pummeling that minotaur. Those brass knuckles are seriously badass. He grabs the beast by the chest and roars at the kid to wake the hell up. While Nishi cries out in guilt, Takeshi shows off his ruined hand. The damage is done, but if he actually wants to save his sister, Rikuto pushes the kid to focus on the mission. Nishi watches Akane punishing herself over her dead brother, but she snaps out of it, ordering everyone to base. Sector 1 shelter is literally just a half-built construction site. Inside, she thanks them for stopping a bloodbath, but nobody is celebrating. Nishi just clenches his fist, completely sick over his missing sister. Rikuto asks if the central sector is really weaponizing these monsters. Until now, we thought this was just a random monster invasion. But the reality is way darker. The mastermind behind this nightmare is Kurogane Rikuto. That drop leaves everyone speechless. Just look at the pure hatred in Ginkgo's eyes. Kotone looks absolutely terrified right now. Akane notices the tension skyrocket and Rikuto drops the bomb. That guy is his cousin. He demands to know everything. I know what you are thinking. Basically, the city has a new boss, and those bizarre freaks, all his pets. This is some seriously twisted stuff. Akane reveals the kidnappers just borrowed Kuroto's monsters. Nishi is mind-blown. How is a human controlling that army? They used that horde to conquer Amashima, putting monsters on every corner. Sakura is totally pissed they stole all the food. Saito freaks out, realizing the FN company is sitting right in the belly of the beast. Akane says their only choice is living in fear. But our boy glares back, no way is he accepting that garbage. Nishi warns him to drop the personal revenge arc. But our main character speaks straight facts. Killing Kuroto is the only way out. Everyone is totally stunned, staring at those completely empty food crates. With zero food production, it is only a matter of time before they all starve. Akane looks away, sighing that their old leader would have known exactly what to do. The guy was named Shibasaki Genya, but he got captured on a supply run. Ginkgo freezes up at that name. She remembers her mom in the hospital before the world ended mentioning Shibasaki was her co-worker. Nishi jumps out of his skin when our girl suddenly shouts. She confirms he is the FN company guy. Her mom talked about him all the time. Crazy coincidence. Rikuto realizes Yukina knew everything and kept hope alive. Nishi suddenly remembers Ken was wrapped up in this. If Shibasaki knows the truth, they need him. Sakura grabs Akane demanding any digital footprint. Akane mentions Shibasaki locked his PC. Sakura immediately jumps in, ready to crack the system. Everyone is just blown away by our genius hacker. Her fingers are a total blur on the keyboard. She pulls up files that change everything, and Rikuto knows the plan is set, and that is where we leave it. A brutal, bloody factory massacre is going down. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into the chaos. Red coat here. He is totally done with the screaming kicking the door wide open. Anizawa locks eyes with the intruders. Riko plays it cool, but the blonde guy. He is already hyped thinking it is an all-out ambush. He is totally ready to slice them up for round 2. But our main character steps in demanding he listen. This is about pure absolute survival. Nishi spots that nasty blood trail. The villain finally agrees to chat, but casually threatens to slaughter them all if he gets bored. Honestly, Anizawa is completely thrown off. He looks at Akane like she has officially lost her mind. Her big brain plan, straight up invade the high-security facility holding all the prisoners. Meanwhile, Blondie just cleans his ear looking absolutely bored out of his mind. The real goal, rescuing Shirasaki Genya. Why? Because he is literally the only guy who knows why the apocalypse started. Nishi freezes, remembering that exact name. Cue the massive lore drop about the myth summon system. FN Company built this tech to revolutionize the globe, but accidentally dragged fantasy monsters into our reality. Now, watch closely. Because it makes the unreal real, the system has one massive flaw. While everyone is sweating bullets, Sakura is practically frying her brain, hacking those locked files. Nishi pictures Shirasaki as the literal Grim Reaper, while Ginkgo clutches her necklace questioning her mother's secrets. Akane pushes hard. Saving this guy is their only shot against the central sector. Plus, all their food and water is stuck there. She begs Sector 2 for backup, but Anizawa just stands up and tells her to cut the nonsense. Flashing that signature psychotic smile, Anizawa takes the deal, warning he will absolutely massacre everyone in his way. Nishi starts thinking that teaming up with this maniac was his biggest mistake ever. Meanwhile, heavily equipped Akane just gets super annoyed by all this amateur behavior. Riko just lets out a heavy sigh, asking what the blondie is actually afraid of. Going straight for the ego, he asks if the villain fears the central sector, calling him completely pathetic to his face. Our lead asks his grand plan for this monster-infested world. Anizawa deadpans. He just robs the weak end of story. I know what you're thinking. Civilization is absolutely doomed right now. Even his henchman knows the food is vanishing. Our boy warns that teaming up is the only survival route. Anizawa is furious, but alone, he stands zero chance. So the main character asks for his final answer. Scene change. The crew gears up at an abandoned factory, while lookouts stay on high alert. One guy calls it a total masterclass, and Anizawa actually admits he never saw this alliance coming. His henchmen are completely hyped for war, asking if the boss is ready for an absolute bloodbath, but he is not in a chatting mood. He vents his rage, punching his subordinate hard and telling him to shut up. The henchman cowers. Anizawa storms right out, slamming the door, and just completely loses his mind alone in the hallway. Thinking about the protagonist and those monsters, he totally freaks out, screaming that he absolutely hates this entire situation. Then a voice notes he seems pretty stressed. Mid-breakdown, this random guy shows up. Anizawa demands to know who this lunatic is. The stranger calmly drops his name, Kurogane Rikuto. Rikuto looks Anizawa up and down like a piece of meat. He bluntly says the brute looks stupid, but his massive physique works perfectly. Flashing a completely cynical smile, he tells the giant gorilla to be grateful because he is about to put him to work. Anizawa is shaking with pure rage, while Rikuto just laughs right in his face. Trust me, watch this. He completely snaps and attacks Rikuto.